Chapter 2154. Lindsay Beyonce came out of the Tower of Trials, even though it was another failed attempt. But she clearly felt that she had grown. It wasn't the growth of magic power. It was the accumulation of her experience. She recalled her previous attempts. She clearly knew where she went wrong in her previous attempts. Some mistakes she didn't realize at the time. But now that she thought about it, she realized that it was ridiculous. But Lindsay Beyonce didn't plan to continue. She was too tired today. She felt extremely tired both physically and mentally. Originally, she wanted to take a shower and have a good sleep. But when she reached the empty space, she found that a stage had been set up. A circle of people surrounded the stage. Maev and Moore were fighting on the stage. Lindsay Beyonce remembered Maev. She heard from Jalanash that Maev was the only one who joined the supernatural organization before her. And the awakening time was very short. But Maev only took 2 days to pass the first level of the Tower of Trials. Thinking that her progress on the first level of the Tower of Trials was still far away, Lindsay Beyonce felt depressed. But what really made Lindsay Beyonce remember Maev wasn't her strength. She was someone who was even more difficult to get close to than herself. Maev's magic was very special. She used sound waves to attack her enemies. But she was still not as good as Moore. Moore was using doppelganger. Although he was only 16, his magic was far better than Maev's in both experience and strength. So the result was obvious. Moore easily defeated Maev. Maev shrugged and walked off the stage without saying a word. So far, Maev had only tried in the Tower of Trials. But Moore had accumulated a lot of battle experience. So Maev's defeat was inevitable. Who wants to practice with me next? Moore was quite arrogant. The first-line fighters wouldn't come up anyway. The strongest second-line fighters had already gotten a spot. So they wouldn't give him a hard time. So he could be arrogant. Just then Kalon ran up. Moore, I'll play with you. Moore rolled his eyes. Forget it. To be honest, although Kalon was Ingelite's son, Moore was Colin's guide. Moore had taught Corin many things. Below the ring, everyone looked at Angelite with interest. Angelite, do you think Colin can win? Gaia asked in a deliberately joking tone. How could he win? Kalon isn't as cunning as Moore. At this moment, Kellen took the initiative to attack. He had inherited Ingelite's bloodline and possessed super high speed. He went straight for Moore. Although he could not achieve his father's freakish speed explosion. However, he was still confident that his speed was far beyond that of an ordinary person. At the very least, Moore definitely wouldn't be able to react in time. In an instant, he rushed to Moore and made a face in front of Moore. Seeing Moore's panicked expression, Karen felt a little proud. You lost. As he spoke, Colin reached out to push Moore. No, you lost. The moment Colin touched Moore suddenly revealed a strange smile. By now, Kalon had already realized that something was wrong, but he couldn't stop his movements. The moment it touched Moore suddenly exploded. Kalon let out a blood-curdling scream as he was sent flying out of the arena. Of course, he was on the same side, so Moore couldn't be too cruel. Although Colin was a mess, he only suffered some superficial wounds. He quickly stood up. Moore, how is this possible? Why did your real body explode? Who said that was my real body? No, that's a doppelganger. I remember it very clearly. I remember every move you made in the ring, including how many times you used the doppelganger spell, and what kind of moves you made. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. I learned a new spell that allows me to switch between my real body and clone at will. My clone can be my real body, and my real body can be a clone. Colin was depressed. Do you have to be so serious to compete with me? Actually, he knew that he couldn't beat Moore. The difference between them was obvious. Jocelyn, Nash, what are they doing? It's a competition. Can't you tell? Competition? Why? Or is it a regular event for the supernatural organization? Neither. It's for the decennial battle of holy glory. What's this event? It's a gathering of the most outstanding spiritualists in the world in the past 10 years. 10 of them will be given the title of Holy Glory, Jocelyn said. So you can see the most outstanding spiritualists in the world? You want to participate? Go and try. Lynn Beyonce went into the ring excitedly. She had made obvious progress, but the difference in strength was obvious. There were no ups and downs, so Moore didn't waste any time. Mo. Kicked her in the butt and sent her rolling down the ring. Lynn Beyonce was depressed. But a loss was a loss. She felt good about it. Returning to Jocelyn, she asked, "What's the difference between me and that boy?" "In terms of magic power, he's about 20 times better than you. In terms of destructive power, he's 100 times better than you." "Is there such a big difference between us?" "The difference in mana can be made up for. However, the difference in destructive power is due to the difference in attributes. At the same level, it's impossible for you to have more destructive power than him. There's also the difference in combat experience. It's difficult to make an accurate conclusion. However, Moore has participated in several battles with Guild Leader. That means I can't get the spot, right?" "You can't. That's all you're capable of." "Fine." Lynn Beyonce had no choice, even though she was a little unwilling. After all, she didn't have the right to ask others to let her through the back door. But when she thought about meeting the top spiritualists in the world, if she wanted this chance, she would have to wait for 10 years. She would be very disappointed. Lynn Beyonce watched the competition in the ring. The last 2 places were taken by Moore and Giselle. Of course, this didn't mean they were the strongest among the remaining people. But they didn't overdo it. No one really used their trump cards to fight with their lives on the line. After the fight was over, everyone was still talking and laughing. Lynn Beyonce swore to herself that she would catch up to the people before her, and Chen Zhao. "Jocelyn, wait for me." It was the first time Lynn Beyonce took the initiative to talk to Jocelyn. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 2155. "Old Zhang, are there any tickets for the Battle of Holy Glory?" "No, what do you think it is?" "Just bring people here," Zhang Tianyi said straightforwardly. "How do I contact the organizers when I get to Istanbul?" "When you get to the airport, you can find a red and blue taxi, and say you're going to the Desolate Market. The taxi drivers will take you there. So I don't need anything to prove my identity? Badges, letters, something like that? Just call me when you get there. It's not that troublesome," Zhang Tianyi said nonchalantly. Zhang Tianyi said disapprovingly, "After all, you are all recommended by me. No one will not give me face." "You're so shameless." Chen Zhao pursed his lips. The fame conference would bring a lot of trouble. But most of the time, fame could make one's face bigger. "Are you jealous? If so, tell your people to perform well, and try to become famous. Come on, no matter how big your face is, it doesn't work with me." Hearing that, Zhang Tianyi was infuriated. "I suddenly remembered that a few days ago, someone stole $100 from a girl on the street. How shameless. How dare he call himself a master?" Chen Zhao's face twitched. How did Zhang Tianyi know about this? "Old Zhang, your disciple is still in LA. You better be more polite to me." Zhang Tianyi was furious. "Do you believe that I'll tell your people to make spare parts when we get to Istanbul? At most I won't go. What can you do to me? Fly over and hit me?" Every time the two talked, they didn't have a peaceful conversation. Every time, they would threaten each other. In the end, they parted on bad terms. But the next time they talked, it was as if nothing had happened. Istanbul, it also has a more resounding name, Byzantium, or Constantinople. It had once been the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. Back then, Istanbul had been the political and cultural center. Now it still had a very important position. In the spirit world, Istanbul also had a very special status. This time, Chen Zhao didn't plan on bringing his family to Istanbul. After all, it wasn't far and they weren't going for a vacation. When the Battle of Holy Glory started, Istanbul would definitely be filled with spiritualists. Moreover, most of the spiritualists were top-notch. Although most spiritualists in the spirit world abided by the rule of not attacking and harassing ordinary people. But when the forest was big, there would always be some birds with water in their heads. In terms of danger, it was definitely more dangerous than usual. Chen Zhao hoped that the next time his family traveled, they could take his private plane. Thinking of private jets, Chen Zhao thought of his previous plan to build a private airport. Chen Zhao picked up the phone and called Felwood Cisco. "Merry Christmas, Felwood." "Mr. Chen, Merry Christmas," Felwood greeted politely. Actually, he had called Chen Zhao on Christmas Day. Felwood, how's Stephen's villa going? We're still building the foundation, but my men will be on vacation around Christmas, so we'll only start work after the new year. Felwood thought that Chen Zhao was here to help Stephen ask about the progress of the project, so he explained honestly. Remember what I told you before about my plan to build a private airport? Do you have enough manpower now? Yes, Mr. Chen. Felwood's heart skipped a beat. Chen Zhao had given him the best Christmas present. Our company just hired 100 more employees, so we have plenty of manpower. Even if a few projects start at the same time, it won't affect the progress. That's for the best. Send a designer over to check out the location with me, and then do some measurements. Also, I'll have my lawyer take over with you. Got it. My men are on standby. When do you think it's convenient? I can go anytime too, Chen Zhao said. How about we set it for tomorrow? Do your engineers have time tomorrow? If they're still on vacation, we'll change the date. But I'll be going to Europe in a few days, so I can only have my lawyer talk to you then. We have time. Our company's engineers think the Christmas holiday is too long, Felwood said immediately. Of course, he definitely didn't mean what he said. Nevertheless, Felwood felt that he had given his men a huge present. He would be happy to end his vacation. The next day, Felwood brought 2 engineers to Chen Zhao's manor. The 2 engineers were old acquaintances of Chen Zhao's. After all, they had contributed to Chen Zhao's family living in Mirror Lake Manor. Mr. Chen, are you planning to build a private airport around Mirror Lake? Chen Zhao had this idea, but he also had another plan: to build a private airport next to the supernatural organization's headquarters. Chen Zhao was also conflicted about where to build it. Mr. Chen, I think you should consider this carefully, one of the engineers said seriously. It's not a wise choice to build an airport near your house. Why? First, the noise from taking off and landing, the engineer said. Secondly, there's the issue of safety. Even if you don't use the airport often, when a medium or large plane lands close to the ground, the noise it brings will have a great impact on the human body, especially if you have children at home. Lastly, there's the expropriation law. When a plane runs into trouble in the air, the government has the right to temporarily expropriate any airport. Los Angeles is a high-use air route area. Every year, there are more or less hundreds of similar incidents. Therefore, it's very likely that airline companies' planes will take off and land at your private airport. The engineer's words completely dispelled Chen Zhao's idea. Okay, then let's build a private airport somewhere else. The headquarters occupied a much larger area than the area around Mirror Lake. Therefore, there was enough space to build a private airport. Mr. Chen, what's your budget? The budget doesn't matter, as long as it meets my requirements, Chen Zhao said. A parking apron, hangar, and 3-lane runway that can park at least 5 mid-sized planes. That's about it. I'll take you there today to measure it. Felwood, give me a quote. Okay, Mr. Chen. Felwood wasn't unfamiliar with the supernatural organization's headquarters either. After all, his construction team had built it. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 2156. Chen Zhao brought Felwood and the 2 engineers to the headquarters of the association. West accompanied Felwood Cisco and the others to inspect the geology of the construction site. My company is here, Chen Zhao said. In order not to affect my employees' work, I hope that the construction team won't come here. If they need to come, they have to call me first. Of course, I understand. This place is about 3 kilometers from your company, so the noise won't affect your company's working hours. Felwood took the lead and said that he would keep his employees in check. Felwood couldn't provide the design plan and budget in a short time. However, it was estimated to be at least $400 million. Chen Zhao didn't want to build a normal tarmac. He also needed an airplane warehouse. It wasn't as big as a civil airport, but it was still very large. Among them, the most expensive was the runway. Chen Zhao wanted to buy a large private plane. It wasn't a small plane, so it had high requirements for the runway. In fact, with the condition of the road surface, it was barely enough for large aircraft to take off and land. However, this kind of landing would cause great damage to the aircraft and the runway. So, Chen Zhao felt that since he was going to build it, He had to build the best runway. He didn't lack money anyway. Little Xinxin's real name was Li Xian. She was just a streamer, but there weren't many streamers who could travel all over the world nowadays. With 1 million fans, she was considered a big streamer in the streamer circle. Her income wasn't much lower than second or third tier celebrities. Of course, Li Xian's content was new too. She wasn't like most beautiful streamers who sang and danced in the broadcast room. Her livestream content was quite rich. Apart from seeing the world, one could also see the customs of many places. There were the most prosperous cities in the world, as well as the backward tribes in Africa. Friends, today I'll bring you to see one of the best restaurants in LA. As Li Xian walked, she broadcast on her phone. Marina's restaurant. It's here. Some of the viewers in the broadcast room belonged to the greatest king category. They could boast all sorts of things whenever they opened their mouths. As long as someone said it, they would refute it to show how knowledgeable they were. For example, Li Xian said that Marina's restaurant was one of the best restaurants in LA. Immediately, a group of people jumped out to refute. Most of them had never even left their own province before, not to mention going abroad. But the moment he opened his mouth, he talked about international affairs. And the moment he opened his mouth, he talked about things that didn't exist in the sky or on the ground. Of course, as a professional anchor, Li Xian would not argue with this group of trolls. When he entered the restaurant, there was a long queue outside. Li Xian didn't stop the live stream. She was still talking to the live stream, as expected of a famous restaurant in Los Angeles. Just look at the number of people here. You'll know. I heard that many Hollywood stars like to dine here. And this restaurant doesn't accept reservations. All customers who come here to dine can only line up here. At this moment, a waiter in charge of maintaining order at the entrance of the restaurant walked over. "Miss, I'm sorry, you can't take pictures here." Li Xian pursed her lips to express her dissatisfaction. Why not? Because some of the customers here don't want to be on camera. Do you understand what I mean? Looks like I can only stop the live broadcast for now. Li Xian understood this rule. After all, there were many public figures here. If there were paparazzi coming in and out every day, that would only damage the reputation of the restaurant. After Li Xian explained to the viewers, most of them expressed their understanding. However, a small number of people were still clamoring to unfollow the stream. Li Xian turned a blind eye to the clamor of those people. These people usually had the least presence, so they always wanted to find some presence online. But even on the internet, no one was willing to pay attention to them. Li Xian was about to close the stream and put away her phone. An unexpected voice sounded. "Hey, isn't this the famous anchor?" Chen Zhao teased Li Xian as he walked over. Li Xian took 2 steps back and narrowed her eyes at him. "Why are you here?" "Pfft. You sound like I can't be here. You sound like you can afford to spend here." Last time, Chen Zhao had robbed her of $100. So Li Xian naturally thought that he was the type who didn't have a good life. Although Chen Zhao was dressed like a dog, it was probably just for show. "Hey, are you looking down on me?" "I am," Li Xian said provocatively. "Okay, let's spend here. Let's see who spends more. The loser is a coward." Li Xian wanted to reject subconsciously, but the viewers in the stream started to make a ruckus. "Little Xian, bet with him. Why are you scared? I'll tip you how much you spend." A few bosses in the stream shouted. Seeing Chen Zhao's arrogant tone, they were all filled with righteous indignation. Moreover, they didn't think that Chen Zhao could spend much here. Li Xian didn't care about the trolls. They wouldn't bring her any benefits. But she couldn't ignore the bosses in the stream. They were Li Xian's bread and butter. "What are we betting on?" "Whoever loses has to pay the other party's spending amount," Chen Zhao said. "What a joke. If you randomly bet, no one can beat you. If you pay with my money, this bet will be meaningless. Since we're betting on who can spend more, of course we have to pay," Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Hearing Chen Zhao's confident tone, Li Xian wanted to back out again. "If you're scared now, then forget it. Remember to take a detour when you see me in the future, as well as those bastards in your live stream." Chen Zhao's expression was as if he was asking for a beating. "Oh, who's not happy? Come to LA and beat me up." "Kid, Leave your address if you dare. I know a gang in LA. Do you think I won't tell them to kill you? The viewers in the live stream room were all cursing the heavens and the earth. They were extremely arrogant. Li Xian couldn't back down now. If she backed out at this time, the people in her live streaming room would probably rebel. Fine, Li Xian said coldly. If you want to compete, then compete. But you better be willing to lose. You too. Chen Zhao had a smile on his face. But you have to get him first. It's my turn. With that, Li Xian left, leaving Chen Zhao with a cool back view. Li Xian entered the restaurant. Just as she was about to turn around and mock Chen Zhao, she realized that Chen Zhao had followed her in. Mobile version of the fastest.d website, M. Chapter 2157. Li Xian was about to put away her phone and stop the broadcast. But the audience in the room were all clamoring for a live broadcast. You can't broadcast here. Li Xian wanted to explain, but the audience wouldn't listen at all. Just broadcast like this. If someone comes, just stop, Chen Zhao said, pursing his lips. Chen Zhao pursed his lips and said, these millions of people can be witnesses. I hope that when your pretty streamer loses, you guys can really be generous. Don't just talk big. Shut up, loser. Just wait to lose. The price of one meal for me is more than your annual salary. Chen Zhao sat next to Li Xian's table and snapped his fingers. Sir, what can I do for you? Give me the 10 most expensive dishes on the menu. With that, Chen Zhao looked at Li Xian provocatively. Oh, don't waste food in front of a million people. Li Xian took a deep breath and sneered. You don't know, right? Before I traveled around the world, I was a big eater. With that, Li Xian called the waiter over. When the waiter came over, he first glanced at the phone on the table, and then at Chen Zhao. But he didn't say anything. Miss, what can I do for you? Give me all the dishes on the menu. What? Miss, you're alone? Of course, Li Xian said matter-of-factly. At the same time, she placed a Citibank Platinum card on the plate. Don't worry, I don't have money to pay. As you wish. Please wait a moment. The waiter left after Li Xian ordered. Haha, that guy is dumbfounded. He definitely doesn't know Xinxin's appetite. Let alone him. Even if there were 10 more people, they still wouldn't be little Xinxin's match. She's the #1 glutton in China. I hope he has money to pay for dinner. Chen Zhao's dishes were served first. He glanced at Li Xian. I'll start eating first. Chen Zhao had to consider his image when eating in his own restaurant. Therefore, he couldn't do anything that was too inappropriate. For example, he definitely couldn't grab food with his hands. But the way he ate was definitely not elegant. Soon, Chen Zhao finished the plate of squid and sauce. Then he turned his attention to the second plate of goose and sauce. When Chen Zhao finished the goose, Li Xian finally served the first dish. Li Xian's actions were not ladylike at all. It was also at this time that she showed her true colors as a foodie. Soon, Chen Zhao finished all 10 dishes. Li Xian's movements were also very fast. She followed closely behind and finished the 10th dish. Then Li Xian turned to Chen Zhao. Can you still eat? Chen Zhao snapped his fingers again and called the waiter over. Give me another serving of the same dish. Yes, sir. There were all sorts of comments from the audience in the live streaming room. I didn't expect this guy to be so good at eating, but I think he's at his limit. After all, the 10 servings he ordered are not small. Even 3 normal people might not be able to finish them. They are competing to see who consumes more, not who eats more. So what? In any case, I'm going to support our little Xinxin today. Little Xinxin has the support of 1 million people. Don't tell me she can't defeat this guy. The food in this restaurant was very good, but it was also very expensive. Little Xinxin wondered if she could recoup her losses from tonight's live streaming. She looked up at Chen Zhao. His appetite really wasn't small. However, little Xinxin believed that she wouldn't lose to Chen Zhao in terms of both appetite and wallet. Chen Zhao finished the second serving of 10 dishes. Not to be outdone, little Xinxin said. Don't force yourself. You might get sick. I'll say the same thing back to you, Chen Zhao said. As a doctor, I advise you to go to the hospital for corrective surgery for your deformed stomach. Of course, after this meal. Little Xinxin sneered and replied. Aren't you a magician? Since when did you become a doctor? Being a doctor is my main profession. Magic is my hobby. If you need me to recommend a hospital, I'll be happy to help. The two were at each other's throats. They didn't give in on each other from the dining table to their tongues. However, Chen Zhao had to admit that Li Xian was the woman with the biggest appetite Chen Zhao had ever seen. Or rather, the human with the biggest appetite. Of course, Chen Zhao had seen a glutton before. He also knew what a glutton was. But Li Xian really could eat. Her way of eating was actually very taxing on her body. However, Chen Zhao wouldn't pity her. After all, this was how she made a living. Chen Zhao had already finished the 40 dishes. Little Xinxin followed closely behind. Waiter, give me a bottle of nameless wine. Li Xian looked up at Chen Zhao. What, you can't eat anymore? Chen Zhao chuckled. Did you forget that our bet isn't about who can eat more, but who can spend more? So what? Do you think a bottle of wine can win the bet? You better look at the menu first. Li Xian picked up the menu and looked at the price of the wine. Soon, she saw the price of the nameless wine. $345,000. Li Xian's expression changed. The price of this bottle of wine was almost 2 million renminbi. It wasn't that she couldn't afford it, but it was beyond her imagination. Most importantly, she couldn't back down now. If she admitted defeat now, she would have to bear the high cost. But if she didn't, she would have to order at least one bottle. Waiter, give me a bottle of nameless wine too. Yes, Mississippi. The live stream exploded. A large number of viewers swarmed into it. Li Xian's live stream had more than 1.5 million viewers. Although it was a breakthrough for Li Xian. However, Li Xian still felt heartache over the expensive wine. It was too expensive, really too expensive. The viewers in the live stream were also discussing the expensive wine like crazy. Waiter, come here. Li Xian saw Chen Zhao order 10 more dishes after the wine was served. Could he still eat? You better be careful, Li Xian said deliberately. His dishes and wine are worth at least 500,000. The waiter looked back at Li Xian and then left in silence. Li Xian was also shocked. Weren't the waiters afraid of death? If Chen Zhao couldn't pay, the waiters would be affected too, right? Li Xian could only force herself to order more dishes. At this moment her heart was bleeding. 3 million yuan for one meal. Who could she ask for justice? She could get the money back from Chen Zhao if she won. But is this guy really rich? Li Xian was still doubtful. 9 Heavens, Divine Emperor. Chapter 2158. After eating 50 dishes, even Li Xian couldn't take it anymore. Towards the end, Li Xian was already stuffing food into her mouth. However, Chen Zhao still maintained a highly efficient eating method. Chen Zhao grinned and looked at Li Xian's ugly expression. You look like you can't eat anymore. Let's see how you're going to pay later. Li Xian couldn't eat anymore and didn't plan on ordering anymore. After all, wasting food in front of 1 million people would probably get her stream banned. Moreover, she didn't think that even if she won, she could get the wager. In the end, the winner would still be decided by the bill. If the man before her couldn't even pay, she would naturally win. Waiter, bill please. When Li Xian received the bill, her heart couldn't help but twitch. Just then, Chen Zhao also waved his hand. Bring my bill. After receiving the bill, Chen Zhao stood up and walked to Li Xian. $585,000. Looks like you lost. Li Xian sneered at Chen Zhao. You haven't paid yet. Paid? This is my own store. Why should I pay? Chen Zhao's smile was still so annoying. Li Xian's eyes widened. At the same time, the million people in the stream were also shocked. You mean this store is yours? Didn't I tell you? Oh, maybe I forgot. But I still have to thank you for spending $459,000 in my store. You lied to me? When did I lie to you? Please tell me, when did I lie to you? Li Xian thought about it, but couldn't find a reason to retort. Chen Zhao had never lied to her from start to finish. It was just that Li Xian thought that Chen Zhao was a poor guy who would rob even $100. What she needed to consider now was whether she should go back on her word. From a legal point of view, their bet had no legal effect. However, Li Xian was a public figure after all. She couldn't go back on her word. and in front of 1 million people at that. It would be a huge blow to her career. I lost. Li Xian finally decided to accept the result. She lost the bet, although she wasn't really willing. But at this time, she was already riding a tiger and unable to back down. At this moment, the big shots in the livestream room all generously donated money. In a short period of time, Li Xian received hundreds of thousands of tips, although it was a drop in the bucket compared to her losses tonight. However, the popularity of her live streaming room had skyrocketed, allowing her to recover and compensate for some of her losses. But Chen Zhao still made a fool of him. Li Xian still left with an unhappy face. At the door, Li Xian was waiting for the car. She watched as Chen Zhao's car slowly drove past her. The car Chen Zhao was driving was the one she had taken a selfie with in Hollywood. "Miss, are you alone? Want me to give you a ride? Don't you want it? That's all. Bye." Looking at Chen Zhao's back, Li Xian stomped her feet in anger. To Chen Zhao, winning a few $100,000 was really nothing. Even if he did nothing, his daily income would be more than this. However, this little interlude was interesting to Chen Zhao. "Boss, are you sure you don't need me to go with you to Istanbul?" Portia looked at him expectantly. Her expression and eyes already told him that she really wanted to go to Istanbul. "No need," Chen Zhao said indifferently. This time, Chen Zhao planned to go alone. There were so many kids at home. Dan Feilai probably couldn't take care of them all by herself. So he let Portia stay and help her. As for Portia's personal thoughts, they weren't important. "Boss, you really won't reconsider?" "Why should I? It's still something that's been decided. But I want to go to Istanbul." "Oh, if you want, I can give you a few days off." "But aren't you going the day after tomorrow?" "Yes, but I don't need you to go." No matter what Portia said or hinted, Chen Zhao was unmoved. Feilai came out with 2 drinks. "Chen, since Portia wants to go, let her go. There's still a lot of work in L.A. If she's gone, who's going to take care of it for me?" Chen Zhao's words sounded righteous, but Portia was depressed. How could Portia not know her boss's personality? Ever since she became Chen Zhao's personal assistant, she had some understanding of her boss's personality. After such a long time, she knew Chen Zhao like the back of her hand. Of course, it could also be said that she deeply hated him. Chen Zhao never considered her feelings when he did anything. Chen Zhao had always been stubborn. He would insist on carrying out his decisions. He didn't care if she was willing or not. Most of the tasks that Chen Zhao gave her were troublesome ones. Although she had to go to Istanbul the day after tomorrow, there were indeed many things to do in the next 2 days. Visiting friends and family was a big deal. She couldn't avoid the ways of the world. Also, Felwood Cisco had given her the design of the first private airport and a preliminary price. The preliminary budget was $350 million. But Chen Zhao didn't like the design. Without another word, Felwood called the designer to redesign it. Felwood Cisco had always held a sincere attitude towards his parents who provided him with food and clothing. In the past 2 years, Chen Zhao had provided him with countless projects. Therefore, to Felwood, Chen Zhao was like his bread and butter. Seagate Yacht Company called again. They wanted to invite Chen Zhao to a banquet at their headquarters. Chen Zhao would be crazy to accept such an invitation. He would spend 20 hours on a plane to attend such a classy banquet. There were also many things to do at the headquarters, because everyone was preparing for the 3rd Scarlet mission. The other 10 people who got the spots were also preparing for the Battle of Holy Glory. But no one knew the specific details of the Battle of Holy Glory, so they couldn't prepare even if they wanted to. But one thing was for sure. The most important requirement for participating in the Battle of Holy Glory was strength. As long as you were strong enough, you could ignore any rules. Take Chen Zhao for example. Even if he didn't actively seek a spot for the Battle of Holy Glory, someone would still give it to him. It was the 3rd day of departure. Everyone came to Mirror Lake Manor and set off with Chen Zhao. Portia didn't know if it was to take revenge on Chen Zhao, but she booked a ticket for 8 in the morning. With Portia's understanding of Chen Zhao's schedule, she definitely knew that he wouldn't wake up so early. But she couldn't change the ticket now. On the way to the airport, Chen Zhao was still sleeping in the back seat. Chapter 2159. After boarding the plane, Chen Zhao curled up in his seat and went back to sleep. Chen Zhao didn't notice that there was another uninvited guest in the first-class cabin. When Li Xian found her seat, she realized that the person sitting next to her was the person she hated the most, Chen Zhao. It was really a small world for enemies. She didn't expect to meet her nemesis on the plane to Istanbul. Also, it was the seat next to hers. Li Xian kicked Chen Zhao in annoyance. It woke Chen Zhao up right away. "Why are you here?" Chen Zhao opened his eyes and saw that it was Li Xian. "Excuse me," Li Xian said with a dark expression. "You're not following me, are you?" "Who the hell would follow you?" Li Xian said, gritting her teeth. It was definitely not a good thing to run into Chen Zhao. What pained her the most was that she would have to sit with Chen Zhao for the rest of the 11,000-kilometer journey. Seeing that Li Xian was sitting beside him, Chen Zhao was instantly energized. "Miss Host, which platform are you streaming on? Introduce me. I'll give you a few bucks when I'm free. After all, you made a lot of money for me last night." Hearing Chen Zhao mention last night, Li Xian was even more annoyed. She also decided that she wouldn't let Chen Zhao know which platform she was streaming on. With Chen Zhao's bad personality, if he knew which platform she was streaming on, he might cause trouble in her room. "Are you going to Istanbul for a tour? I know someone there. Do you want me to find you a guide? Are all live streamers very profitable? How many years have you been doing it? You have 1 million fans, right? What else do you like to do other than live streaming?" It had only been 20 minutes since the plane took off, but Li Xian couldn't take it anymore. "Miss, I want to change seats," Li Xian said to the flight attendant. The flight attendant glanced at the first-class cabin. There were still a few empty seats. "Miss, why do you need to change seats?" "I need to change to a quiet seat." Li Xian didn't explain the situation directly, but the flight attendant still understood what she meant. Moreover, as a first-class passenger, as long as there was an empty seat, they could still choose to change seats. Li Xian changed her seat, and next to her was a girl in black clothes. This girl was dressed in a punk style, and her whole body exuded an unapproachable aura. "Hi, hello." Li Xian felt a little uncomfortable, but she still took the initiative to greet the girl. Heli slowly turned her head and looked at Li Xian. Li Xian shuddered. She suddenly regretted sitting in this seat. "Do you like cosplay? Which anime character are you cosplaying in this costume?" "I didn't cosplay as anyone," Harold replied coldly. "What are you doing in Istanbul? Going to school? Or a tour? Work? Work? How old are you? What do you do?" "Unconventional affairs are planned and handled," Halle's replied. "Make it clear." "I don't understand what you're talking about when it comes to personal affairs." "Detective. Detective? You?" Li Xian felt that detectives were generally the kind of people who were unattractive. Even if you walked past them, you would never look at them. Helly's, who would attract attention no matter where she stood, couldn't be Detective Dang. "Your boss must be out of his mind." Li Xian immediately felt that she had gone too far when she said this. But Helly's didn't care and said, "Maybe. Do detectives usually follow people? Then install a bug on the target's body or home." Li Xian was interested in the detective that Helly's mentioned. She just kept guessing and imagining. "Do you usually have a conflict with the target?" "Often. With your small body, if there is a conflict, who can you beat?" Li Xian glanced at Helly's body. She looked like a 16 or 17-year-old girl, and her body was completely different from the tall European and American people. Her whole body looked very petite. But very quickly, Helly's got tired of chatting with Li Xian. After all, they were from two different worlds. To Helly's, Li Xian's words were very childish and funny. So in the end, Helly's was too lazy to continue talking. "I need to rest. If it's convenient, please change seats," Helly said indifferently. Li Xian was very embarrassed. This girl didn't seem to understand the ways of the world. Li Xian glanced at Helly's, who had closed her eyes to rest. Finally, she decided to change seats. She found a stewardess and arranged another seat for her. Originally, Li Xian thought that her seat in the same row was empty. She could also have a good rest. But she didn't expect a tall woman to come from the direction of the bathroom. This woman first looked at Li Xian, then sat directly next to her. This woman didn't have Helly's unapproachable aura. But with this kind of body, it was almost like a human tyrannosaurus, directly cutting off Li Xian's thought of greeting. Li Xian felt that this woman's fist was bigger than her head. Then, when this woman went to the bathroom again, Li Xian found a stewardess to change seats again. "Miss, if you don't feel comfortable in first class, I can help you descend." The stewardess couldn't stand Li Xian constantly changing seats. Although first-class passengers had the right to change seats, this didn't mean that Li Xian could do whatever she wanted. Li Xian could also feel the resentment in the stewardess's tone. Li Xian could also feel the resentment in the stewardess' tone. She felt that if she continued to mess around, she would probably be blacklisted by the airline. Li Xian found a normal-looking neighbor. She sat down beside Jocelyn Nash. "Hello." "Hello." Nash smiled in response to Li Xian's greeting. "My name is Li. Of course, you should be more used to calling me Xian." "Li." "No, I know that you Chinese people put your surnames first," Nash replied. "You seem to know Chinese culture well." "I can't help it. Our boss is Chinese," Nash said. "Really?" Li Xian felt that she finally met someone she could talk to normally. "Introduce me if there's a chance." "He's your first neighbor." "Ha, that's him." Nash pointed at Chen Zhao's seat. You're talking about that man?" "Yes, you seem to have a conflict." Li Xian was speechless. She'd thought that Nash was easy to talk to. She didn't expect her to be that man's employee. "It's not just him. The two seats next to you are my colleagues." Li Xian's expression completely froze. "All the passengers on the plane are your colleagues?" "No, but they're all my colleagues in first class." Mobile version of the fastest.d website. M. Chapter 2160. Li Xian already regretted taking this flight. There wasn't a single normal person in the first-class cabin. Most importantly, they were all related to Chen Zhao. In the next 20 hours, Li Xian completely stopped talking. These strange-looking people were actually Chen Zhao's subordinates. But towards the end, Li Xian didn't have the energy to observe them anymore. Sitting on a plane for more than 20 hours was a very tiring and exhausting thing. When it came to the last few hours, this feeling of exhaustion was like a tidal wave that came crashing in. When they finally got off the plane, no one talked to each other. Li Xian left alone. Chen Zhao also got off the plane with his people. "Old Zhang, we're in Istanbul. We just got off the plane. Arrange for your people to take the red and blue taxis. You just need to tell the drivers that you want to go to the desolate market, and they'll take you there. You don't have to follow." "What? I don't have to go." "Why?" "Because from the moment they get on the taxi, the entrance test begins. If you participate, then this battle of holy glory will lose its meaning. Wouldn't it be better to just give you a name?" "Fine." When they reached the exit, Moore, who was at the back, was kicked. A group of neatly dressed people in black suits and sunglasses walked out of the exit. "Move. Don't block the way." Gaia went up to help Moore up. "Moore, are you okay?" "I'm fine. I'm fine." Moore shook his head. At the front, Chen Zhao looked back at Moore. "Walk faster if you're fine. Don't block other people's way." "Oh, got it." Moore patted the dust off his body. The other association members were silent as well. They were like turtles hiding in their shells. The black-clothed people glanced at Chen Zhao. The leader couldn't help but smile. "Kid, you're smart. I hope to see you in the official battle of holy glory." "Thanks, but I don't think it's possible." With a smile, Chen Zhao left with his people. Li Xian was about to leave through the tunnel when she was stopped by someone in an airport uniform. "Sorry, this tunnel is under construction. Please leave through another tunnel." Li Xian was about to leave when she looked up at the person. "What's going on? Isn't he Chen Zhao's subordinate? How did he manage to maintain order in the airport after changing his clothes?" Li Xian was at a loss, but she didn't intend to investigate further. However, when she looked into the passage from the corner of her eye, she saw a person lying on the ground in the corner. However, that person was quickly dragged away from the back. Li Xian's heart skipped a beat. She felt that she had seen something extraordinary. Li Xian quickly lowered her head and hurriedly left with her suitcase. Chen Zhao stood before the black-clothed men with a smile. The reason why he didn't make a move at the entrance was that it was too public. People came and went, and they were all spiritualists. Making a move in such a place was just asking for trouble. However, in this passageway, as long as they blocked the people at the entrance and turned the camera in another direction, then all the problems would not be a problem. Chen Zhao grabbed the leader's hair with one hand and lifted him into the air. See, I told you, it's hard for us to meet during the official event of the Battle of Holy Glory. The leader spat out a mouthful of blood. Although Chen Zhao had grabbed his hair and lifted him into the air, he still gritted his teeth. Do you know who we are? Do you know that you've offended something you shouldn't? Slap. Chen Zhao slapped the man's face. A few of his teeth fell out. Come, tell me which organization you're from. We're the Supernatural Organization. We're from the European branch. Oh, the Supernatural Organization. Chen Zhao glanced at them. Break one of their hands. Chen Zhao's people all rubbed their palms. Supernatural Organization? Ha. Unfortunately, they were also from the Supernatural Organization, and the most inconspicuous and low-profile North American branch. The Supernatural Organization of North America had always been invisible. Today, he would teach the highest-profile European branch a lesson. They were more than happy to do so. Of course, Chen Zhao would break one of their hands. But he wouldn't cripple them. At most, he would break their bones. They wouldn't be able to continue participating in the Battle of Holy Glory. Chen Zhao smashed the man's face into the wall. Oh, we're also from the Supernatural Organization, but we're from North America. I hope we'll meet again in the future. Chen Zhao tossed the man aside and clapped his hands before leaving. After leaving the airport, everyone stood in front of the parking lot. President, what's next? West asked. See those taxis with red and blue stripes? Take them, and tell the driver that you want to go to the desolate market. President, you're not coming. Me. They said that it's against the rules if I participate. Hearing that, West suddenly felt that Chen Zhao's words made sense. Chen Zhao definitely couldn't participate. If he did, it would be against the rules. Chen Zhao stretched. The people from the organization all sat in the taxis with red and blue stripes. Chen Zhao watched the taxis leave. Then he took out his phone and booked a car. A while later, the car he booked arrived. Hello, Mr. Chen. I was sent by Blood Mary. Please get in. Isn't this the car I booked? I am, but not, the driver said, smiling. What do you mean? First, I'm sorry. I canceled the order without notifying you. I'll pick you up myself. I'm fine, Chen Zhao said. Take me to the hotel. Mr. Chen, Blood Mary is waiting for you. Can you go and see her first? Okay. Take my luggage to the hotel room. Okay. I'll arrange for your luggage to be sent to the hotel first. Then Chen Zhao boarded the car. As for whether the car would be dangerous, those who knew that Chen Zhao was coming to Istanbul basically wouldn't use such a boring trick to trick him. Chen Zhao saw Blood Mary on an empty beach. There was only a table and an umbrella on the entire beach. Blood Mary was sitting under a parasol. She seemed to be in much better spirits than the last time. Chen Zhao sat in the empty seat opposite Blood Mary. What would you like to drink? A glass of ice water, thank you. Blood Mary casually took out a glass. Then the empty glass was filled with water. Blood Mary tapped the outside of the glass lightly. The water in the glass immediately cooled down. Do you like to carry daily necessities with you too? Chen Zhao took the glass with a smile. I always think that if I end up on a deserted island one day, I'll be able to use these things. Hearing Blood Mary's words, Chen Zhao suddenly felt like he'd met a soulmate. Chapter 2161. But ever since I reached the Shangqing realm, Blood Mary said helplessly. My previous thoughts seemed so stupid. There was even a bit of disappointment in her tone. Chen Zhao could understand Blood Mary's disappointment. After all, at their level, even if they were trapped in the deep sea, they could still escape. Therefore, the daily necessities they prepared might not be useful one day. Even if they really ended up on a deserted island one day, they wouldn't be able to stay there on purpose. Otherwise, they would be able to swim all the way to their doorstep on a mere deserted island. Do you have any special plans for next year? Blood Mary asked. No, I hope I won't have to use that plan. Chen Zhao wouldn't use a plan for most things. For example, More than a year had passed since he'd gotten the news about the treasure island. Chen Zhao had planned to search for the island several times, but he'd always run into trouble for various reasons. Usually, if things didn't happen to him, Chen Zhao wouldn't do anything. To Chen Zhao, the best thing was that everything was fine. Do you want me to give you a few upgraded red missions? You can take them and play. Don't joke around, Chen Zhao replied jokingly. I still want to live. Others might not know, but Blood Mary knew that Chen Zhao had done something earth-shattering not long ago. Mount Olympus, which she'd been to, had been destroyed. Not long after, Chen Zhao's adopted daughter, Xianli, returned with a golden apple. The god who'd chased her and almost made her crawl into a dog hole. The god whose name had shaken the world had also disappeared along with Mount Olympus. Blood Mary didn't have a second guess. As for the upgraded red missions, they were basically puzzles or mysteries that couldn't be solved for hundreds or thousands of years. Chen Zhao might not be able to solve them, but at the same time, they weren't threatening at all. After all, there was basically nothing in the world that could kill a person who could kill a god. Is old Zhang in Istanbul too? Yes, but he's taking care of some trivial matters. It probably can't be anything trivial for him to come personally. By the way, what is that desolate town market? Can you take me there? The wasteland market is not a place, but a different space. A different space that completely covers Istanbul. Chen Zhao raised an eyebrow. An alternate dimension that covered all of Istanbul? This was really big. Chen Zhao was also building his own alternate dimension. Of course, he knew how difficult it was to build such a large alternate dimension. The time required was unimaginable. Chen Zhao had been building the alternate dimension for almost half a year. But the current area was less than 1 square kilometer. If the area of Istanbul was more than 5,000 square kilometers, based on Chen Zhao's construction speed, he would need 2,000 years to build such a huge space. Who built this? So powerful. This isn't a project that a single person can complete. This is an alternate dimension that was left more than 1,000 years ago by the Byzantine Empire. Back then, all the spiritualists in the Byzantine Empire gathered to build it. Blood Mary paused for a moment, then said, to organize an event like the Battle of Holy Glory, even in the most remote desert area, it might affect normal society. So the best way is to arrange this event in an alternate dimension. In an alternate dimension, no matter how powerful the spiritualists destroy it, it won't affect reality. No way, so I can't go in and watch the battle. Of course you can go in, but you have to rely on your own power. This is an open alternate dimension. It's not completely sealed. An open alternate dimension meant that there were many entrances and exits. However, these entrances and exits were very hidden. For example, Chen Zhao's alternate dimension was also open, and had some hidden entrances and exits. As a hiding place, an enclosed alternate dimension was obviously the most suitable. An enclosed alternate dimension would only have one fixed entrance and exit. Without the relevant magic incantation or command, the entrance couldn't be opened either. However, the disadvantage of an enclosed alternate dimension was that someone had to use their own magic to maintain the space. If no one maintained it, it would collapse immediately. This problem didn't exist in an open alternate dimension. The spiritual chi outside could enter the alternate dimension, and the alternate dimension could absorb it by itself. Thus, it could maintain the operation of the alternate dimension. Istanbul is so big. How can I find a small entrance? To be qualified to be a spectator, you have to be stronger than the participants. At least in some aspects, you have to be more outstanding than the participants. So even I can't change this rule, Blood Mary said. Actually, I'm only one of the invited guests for the Battle of Holy Glory. I'm not the manager here. If I knew that the organizers would make things difficult for me, I wouldn't have come. If I can't find the entrance, wouldn't I be embarrassed? I can't help you, Blood Mary said, shrugging. Can I ask someone else? Yes. As long as you can find it, it doesn't matter what method you use. Then can't you just tell me? Why do you have to make things difficult for me? I also need to find it, but I just arrived in Istanbul, so I haven't started yet. Does Zhang know? Maybe. He came a week ago. There's no reason he doesn't know the entrance. Where is he now? Why don't you try to find it yourself? With your strength and domain, it's not impossible for you to find the entrance to the alternate space. Troublesome. Since someone knows, why should I waste time? Even if I get the coordinates from someone else, it's still my power. Am I weak just because I didn't find the coordinates myself? More importantly, the desolate market is too big. It was indeed too big. With an area of more than 5,000 square kilometers, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Chen Zhao didn't want the fight to end before he found the entrance. Are there any clues? Yes, and quite a few. I'll organize them and send them to you in a few days. Chapter 2162. Do we still need to organize the clues? There are many entrances to the wasteland market in Istanbul. There is more than one. Some spectators are powerful, but they are not good at detection, so the organizer will give a lot of clues. If they can directly find the entrance through their own detection ability, then they will naturally find the entrance through detection. If they don't have detection ability, then they will need to find the entrance through the clues given by the organizer. Okay, better hurry. After saying goodbye to Blood Mary, the driver she arranged sent Chen Zhao back to the hotel. Chen Zhao's hotel was arranged by the organizer. As long as he was a spiritualist, there were no requirements. Chen Zhao put his hands in his pockets. But before he could go upstairs, he saw a group of people charging toward him aggressively. The leader was a woman. Behind her was a group of injured people in black. They were the people from the European branch of the supernatural organization that Chen Zhao's group had fought in the airport passage. President, it's him. Stop right there, the woman shouted. Without another word, she released a beam of red light at Chen Zhao. This was a public place, but the entire hotel was filled with spiritualists. Even the hotel's customer service staff were marginalized people. So, the woman attacked Chen Zhao without any hesitation. Death Ray. Chen Zhao tilted his body slightly. The death ray had scratched his sleeve. The people around him, be it spiritualists or hotel staff, had no intention of stopping her. It seemed like it wasn't the first time there had been a conflict here. Everyone seemed to be used to it. Who are those people? That woman is the president of the Supernatural Organization's European branch, Overside Lily. Oh, the Supernatural Organization. Are they here for the Battle of the Holy Light too? Don't underestimate them. This is their second time participating, even though they got last place the first time. Who's that Asian guy? I don't know. If he's Chinese, then it'll be dangerous. Yeah, there's always one or two monsters in China every year, especially in a grand event like this. That Overside Lily is too rash. The surrounding people all had the attitude of watching a show. Overside Lily was furious at the moment. 10 years ago, she was also the one who led the team to participate in the Battle of Holy Glory. But at that time, she had just taken over the Supernatural Organization, and the organization wasn't that strong. Therefore, their ranking was very poor. In the entire event, they ended up failing in the first trial. At the end of the friendly match, they were abused in all sorts of ways. Over the past 10 years, Overside Lily and the members of the association had been enduring hardships and constantly increasing their strength. She had been waiting for the next 10 years, for the next Battle of Holy Glory. She wanted to clear the name of the Supernatural Society. She wanted to wash away the shame of 10 years ago. The truth was that hard work would be rewarded. She and her subordinate's strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Although he didn't dare to say that he had reached the level of invincible in the world, the improvement in his strength was still very real. She was even more confident in the Battle of the Holy Glorious Ones. He swore to obtain good results, so that the world and everyone in the spirit world would know of it. They weren't useless. They were qualified to talk to the most outstanding spiritualists in the world. However, who would have thought that her subordinates would encounter an unexpected disaster at the airport? Her subordinates had been killed by a group of strangers. When they all appeared before her with injuries, she didn't know what to do. Then she was furious. She had never been so angry. She wanted to get justice for her subordinates. She also wanted an explanation for her 10 years of hard work. Chen Zhao easily dodged her spell, but she didn't give up. Although she was furious, she also knew that Chen Zhao wasn't weak. To be able to kill her subordinates so easily, He definitely wasn't weak. Gray curse! Overside Lily yelled, spreading his arms. Gray fog suddenly appeared in the surrounding air and shrouded Chen Zhao. I'll show you the spells of Dragon Tiger Mountain. Celestial Master's Dharma. All evil shall vanquish. Chen Zhao's voice sounded from the fog. The gray fog around them suddenly shook. Immediately, Chen Zhao broke through the fog and appeared before Overside Lily. A palm landed heavily on Overside Lily's chest. Overside Lily spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Did you hear that? Did he just use a spell from Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect? He's really from China. Wow. That Overside Lily isn't the best, but he can lead a team to the Battle of Holy Glory. He's definitely not weak, but he was instantly killed by that man. Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect indeed can't be underestimated. Chen Zhao heard the murmurs of the surrounding crowd. He pretended to be a disciple of Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect, only to make enemies for them. He wasn't trying to show off. 96 spells. Watch as my black water drains your magic. Black water rose from Chen Zhao's feet, and he pounced at Overside Lily. President! Watch out! Overside Lily's subordinates all stood before her. They were all injured and couldn't move freely. However, they couldn't care about their injuries now. They used their strengths to block Chen Zhao's dark lava. The dark lava collapsed after one strike and returned to Chen Zhao's body. What a pity! This is a nice leather bag. It's full of magic and can even refine corpses into puppets, Chen Zhao said shamelessly. No one knew him anyway, and he was using the name of Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect. Did you see that? What a vicious move. When did Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect become so despicable? Just then, a voice as powerful as a mountain shocked everyone. Chen Zhao, you're using the name of Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect to cause trouble again. Zhang Tianyi walked over. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. When everyone saw Zhang Tianyi walk over, they couldn't help but take a step back and lower their heads, not daring to look at him directly. When Zhang Tianyi passed by Overside Lily, he pointed his finger. Celestial Master Dharma, nourish all things. Overside Lily immediately felt the pain disappear and was replaced by a sense of comfort. Thank you, Celestial Master. Please help me. Overside Lily knelt behind Zhang Tianyi. I've already understood. You're not in the right. Also, this is the Battle of the Holy Glory. Power decides everything. A loss is a loss. As compensation, after the battle ends, go to Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect to study for 3 years. Everyone couldn't help but exclaim. Overside Lily had profited from a disaster. Chapter 2163. Overside Lily looked hesitant and complicated. Being able to study in the Celestial Master Sect on Mount Longhu was the dream of most people in the spirit world. After all, most spiritualists in the spirit world were lone travelers. Even if a small number of spiritualists had teachers or masters, most of them had incomplete inheritances. If he could enter the Celestial Master Sect on Mount Longhu, he might be able to obtain a complete inheritance, or make up for his missing parts. Even Overside Lily yearned for the Celestial Master Sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain. However, she couldn't help but look at Chen Zhao. Zhang Tianyi seemed to have stepped on Overside Lily's concerns. He said indifferently, he's pretending to be a disciple of Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect. He's related to Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect. He purposely said those words to discredit Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect. In fact, he didn't use the spells of Dragon Tiger Mountain's Celestial Master Sect. You don't have to worry about him making things difficult for you. Everyone looked at Chen Zhao in surprise. Some even looked at him with admiration. After all, they dared to play these tricks under Zhang Tianyi's nose. Not only did he pretend to be a disciple of Longhu Mountain's Celestial Master Sect, but he also deliberately tried to defame them. Chen Zhao shrugged. Did I say I'm from Dragon Tiger Mountain's Heavenly Master Sect? You just used the name of Longhu Mountain's Celestial Master Sect. So what if I add Dragon Tiger Mountain's Heavenly Master Sect to the name of my spell? Have you registered the trademark yet? Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Although Chen Zhao was being unreasonable, Zhang Tianyi really couldn't find an excuse to retort. Besides, this is a grudge between me and her. What right do you have to interfere? Mind your own business. All right, I'll keep her safe. Zhang Tianyi waved his hand. He didn't plan on pursuing Chen Zhao's responsibility. He really couldn't. Chen Zhao wasn't the kind of person who would stand firm after being beaten. If they really had a falling out, they might cause a huge ruckus in Istanbul. Zhang Tianyi looked at Overside. Stay away from him if you see him in the future. You can't beat him. Old Zhang, you make it sound like I'm some kind of evil villain. Isn't it? Chen Zhao pursed his lips. His attitude was useless against Zhang Tianyi. However, there were still pushovers at the scene. Chen Zhao looked at Overside. Don't let me see you again, or I'll blow your head off. In the battle of Holy Glory, strength was power and privilege. If it was any other spiritualist who said this to Zhang Tianyi, he would have been shocked. The dog's head would probably explode. Zhang Tianyi pretended not to hear what Chen Zhao said. Chen Zhao turned and left. Overside Lily felt that he had been too rash this time. They didn't consider the cause and effect at all, nor did they investigate Chen Zhao's identity. However, from Zhang Tianyi's tone and tolerant attitude, this man was definitely not an ordinary spiritualist. Sage. Overside Lily looked at Zhang Tianyi. Disperse. Zhang Tianyi waved his hand and said, Great Celestial Master, please give my subordinates a chance. They've sacrificed a lot for the Holy Glorious Ones. That's impossible. Everyone has the same chance. No one will have an extra chance, and no one will have one less chance. But they were injured in an accident. They shouldn't be eliminated just like that. They were the ones who provoked that group of people first, especially in front of that guy. If I hadn't appeared just now, he might have really killed you and your men. But he provoked you like that. Aren't you going to punish him? Haha, we're joking. Chen Zhao suddenly went up and put his arm around Zhang Tianyi's shoulder. Right, old Zhang? I won't disturb you anymore. Let's catch up when we're free. Goodbye. With that, Chen Zhao turned and entered the elevator. The moment the doors closed, there was suddenly one more person in the elevator. Baifla had appeared beside Chen Zhao at some point. Ah! Chen Zhao yelped. He raised his fist and punched Baifla. But his fist missed. Baifla appeared on Chen Zhao's right again. Mr. Baifla, don't scare me. You'll scare me to death. Baifla was still as cold as before. I'm more advanced than you in the elevator. Your presence is so low. That's my magic characteristic, Baifla said. Long time no see. Chen Zhao opened his arms, wanting to hug Baifla. But Baifla dodged him again. I like hugging people more than you. Chen Zhao looked at Baifla, who was wearing a white robe with ethnic characteristics. Do you have mysophobia? No, but in my faith, I'm the spokesperson of God, so I refuse to have any actual contact with mortals. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. You're so powerful. You have faith. Do you need me to explain the academic topic of faith to you? Baifla asked calmly. Forget it. Chen Zhao shrugged. Is there someone from the fire worship sect participating this time? Yes, there is. Every time. How about having dinner together tonight? If you think I don't have the right to eat with you, then forget it. I'm happy to. Baifla didn't look happy at all. Instead, he looked cold and unapproachable. Are you really happy to? If it's difficult, then forget it. It's not difficult, Baifla replied coldly. At the door of the suite, Chen Zhao realized that Baifla was in the opposite room. Mr. Baifla, what a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Celestial Master Zhang arranged it. This floor is for people of our status or level. Chen Zhao looked at the end of the corridor. There were more than 20 suites on this floor. It seemed that there were many powerful people in the world. Just then, another person walked out of the elevator. The person also looked around. Seeing Chen Zhao and Baifla not far away, he nodded slightly and opened his door to enter. Do you know that person? Chen Zhao asked. No, but he shouldn't be human, Baifla said calmly. As he spoke, he pushed open his door. Call me when it's dinner time. Not human. Chen Zhao glanced at the closed door not far away. He couldn't tell at all. Isn't that guy human? Chen Zhao spread out his small world. But he soon realized that his small world could only sense the regular spiritualists on the lower floors. He couldn't sense any spiritualists on the same floor. Among the spiritualists on the lower floors, some shivered and discovered Chen Zhao's small world. It seemed that among the spiritualists who came to participate in the Battle of the Holy Glorious Ones, there were many very outstanding spiritualists. But this was understandable. After all, the world was so big, and there were many spiritualists. Just because he was strong didn't mean others were weak. Knock knock. Just then, someone knocked on Chen Zhao's door. Mr. Bifla, what's up? Don't use your small world to sense others, and in such a blatant way. Chapter 2164. Is it that obvious? Chen Zhao asked awkwardly. That's very rude. For those who are vigilant or have strong senses, you're just glaring at them in public. Fine, I'll be more careful in the future. You've never been to this kind of event, right? No. No wonder you seem so stupid. Chen Zhao's face twitched. Has anyone ever told you that you have a sharp tongue? Most of the time, my subordinates say that I'm wise and powerful. We really can't talk about anything. Why don't we cancel dinner tonight? Then you'll be on my kill list. No one can stand me up. Oh, do you have the exact location of the Wasteland Market's entrance? Yes. How did you get it? It's simple, Bifla said calmly. It's a special spell of the fire worship sect. How about sharing the location with me? No. Why? Mortals don't have the right to walk the same path as me. Whatever. If we keep talking like this, even if you don't put me on your kill list, I'll still kill you. Oh, old John is here too, Bifla said. Oh, he lives on this floor too? No, he lives in his palace. You're on the same level as him. Why don't you have a palace? I feel like you're a bit weak. Bifla took out his phone. Hey Samus, add a name to my blacklist. So petty. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. A spiritualist like Bifla wouldn't casually start a feud with others. Especially someone like Chen Zhao. He was joking, but Bifla's personality really wasn't suitable for jokes. His jokes always made people feel like he was serious. Oh, what's the specific content of the Battle of Holy Glory? Every Battle of Holy Glory is different. It's decided and arranged by the board. But I heard that the difficulty of this year's Battle of Holy Glory will surpass all the previous ones. You don't know either? I'm not a board member. Celestial Master Zhang and Blood Mary are. Chen Zhao couldn't help but complain. Bifla glanced at Chen Zhao. If you dare to say that, I'll really kill you. Forget it, let's go for dinner. What do you want to eat? Would you like Chinese food? Chinese food. Bifla nodded. Is there anything you don't eat? Like pork or something? No, we're not the same religion as the Puritans. When they entered the restaurant, they realized that it was filled with spiritualists. Even the waiters were spiritualists. Bifla's magic power characteristics were revealed again. He seemed to be able to make everyone ignore his existence. This magic could even affect Chen Zhao. Of course, because Chen Zhao knew of Bifla's existence, he didn't really ignore it. When the waiter came to the table, he only asked what Chen Zhao wanted to order. He turned a blind eye to Bifla. This magic property of yours is very strange. Don't you think it's a shame to be ignored? I don't need the attention of mortals. As long as the god I believe in pays attention to me, that's enough. Only when it was eating would Bifla appear to be no different from an ordinary person. Bifla was also a big eater, and so was Chen Zhao. However, their big stomachs weren't surprising to the spiritualists present. Among spiritualists, a big stomach was a standard. Not everyone was a big eater, but at least 50% of them had huge appetites. Therefore, Chen Zhao and Bifla's behavior in the restaurant wasn't eye-catching at all. However, Chen Zhao was also a big eater among spiritualists. Only now did the people from the supernatural organization alight from the car. This is Desolate Market. Please alight. The driver stopped the car by the roadside. After everyone got out of the car drove away. They looked at the empty city around them. There was no one on the streets or even a car on the road. The sky was gray, as if it was dead silent. From the looks of it, this was a dead city. Where is this? This place doesn't give me a good feeling. Then where are we going now? I don't know, West said. Let's just walk around. Maybe we can meet other people. However, after walking for a while, they were more or less certain. The city they were in was indeed empty. At least it wasn't a real city. Jalanash, fly to the sky and look. Jalanash flew to a tall building and looked around. Still nothing at all. Mr. West, Moore asked. Are we being tricked? West shook his head. Probably not. Maybe this is our entry test. A while later, Jalanash landed from the sky. Did you find anything? I found some magical auras. There shouldn't be just the 10 of us in this city. There are other spiritualists. But they're all distancing themselves from each other. They seem to be guarding against each other. Seems like there's really something here. Wes fell into deep thought. Do they want us to fight with other teams? Harold asked. Wes shook his head. Probably not. After all, it's just the beginning. There can't be such intense fights. Is there some prey here that we need to hunt? Gaia asked. Or they want us to find something. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. It was quite possible. Harold summoned some low-level undead. Helios nodded and summoned hundreds of dead skeletons. These dead skeletons spread out and searched the surrounding corners. Suddenly, Harold sensed that she had lost contact with a few skeletons without warning. There's something in the alley up ahead, Harold said. Let's go take a look. When they reached the entrance of the alley, they suddenly saw a few black shadows flash past and enter a small building nearby. There were a few bones scattered on the ground. They belonged to the skeletons. Did you see what it was? Black skin, dog head, human shape, wearing metal artifacts and a faint demonic aura, Gaia said. Everyone looked at Dongye Tianqi. Dongye Tianqi was from Japan. He was the one who knew the most about monsters. Plus, he had been in contact with demon blades all year round. Let me try, Dongye Tianqi said and pulled out the demon blade, white-faced demon blade. In an instant, Dongye Tianqi turned into a demon blade samurai. Dongye Tianqi held the demon blade and pointed it forward with his eyes closed. Suddenly, Dongye Tianqi swung the demon blade. A corner of the building was sliced off. Chapter 2165. Dongye Tianqi's strength was average. Moreover, he was best at forging weapons. However, after mastering the demon blade, his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. His strength had also improved by leaps and bounds, and he had almost completely mastered it. The so-called strongest demon blade, the white-faced ghost. Of course, the so-called complete mastery was not completely true. It was mainly because the white-faced ghost did not dare to do anything stupid. Otherwise Chen Zhao would really break it. In the association, everyone had tried using the white-faced ghost. In the end, they still left it to Dongye Tianqi, because only Dongye Tianqi was suitable to use a katana. In his hands, the white-faced ghost could indeed unleash its full strength. When Dongye Tianqi swung the blade, a corner of the building was cut off. It was clear that his strength had increased to a terrifying level with the white-faced ghost. The moment the interior structure of the building was revealed, the thing hiding inside was also revealed to everyone. They were 3 kobolds. Their bodies were humanoid, but their heads were those of dogs. Their skin was dark, and they wore metal accessories on their bodies. 2 of them were running on all 4s. The one in the middle was only standing, but its back was arched. It seemed that it was not used to standing and moving. Anubis. It looked very similar to the legendary Egyptian god of death Anubis. Of course, apart from their appearance, their strength was far from Anubis. At least, it was certain that they did not have the strength of a god. Moreover, they had a very thick demonic aura. They're Anubis constructs, Heliais said. What's that? Simply put, they're man-made, Heliais said. It's a technology that appeared decades ago. It's made from the souls of dogs, human corpses, and demonic aura. They're very weak. They're the lowest level magical creatures, but they have a certain magic resistance and a certain amount of physical attack power. What's the use of these things? Not much, at least not for spiritualists, Heliais said. They should have been created by the organizers. Our first trial should be to hunt these Anubis constructs. There is probably a requirement for the number of Anubis constructs. If we don't kill enough Anubis constructs, we might be eliminated. There's a demon pearl in their bodies that's formed from demon chi. That should be the token that represents our results. What are we waiting for? Let's do it. We don't even know how long the time limit is. These 3 will definitely not be enough. We need to find more Anubis constructs, Emoer said impatiently. Moreover, some teams might have found out about the rules before us. So someone might have already completed the first trial. Allow me, Dongye Tianqi said. Compared to Dongye Tianqi, the demonic aura of the 3 Anubis constructs was not even worth mentioning. A cold light flashed, and the bodies of the 3 Anubis constructs were sliced apart. Instant kill. This result did not surprise anyone. The bodies of the 3 Anubis constructs quickly turned to ash, leaving only 3 demon pearls on the ground. Before they could pick it up, however, 2 of the demon pearls suddenly fused together. Then the fused demon pearl transformed into an Anubis construct. Dongye Tianqi raised an eyebrow and shouted, "Kill!" Another instant kill. The fused Anubis construct turned back into a demon pearl. This time there were no more surprises. The team collected their spoils and left in a hurry to search for the Anubis constructs scattered in the wasteland. Found it again. It's inside. Harris was very efficient. Soon, she found new prey in a building. There were quite a lot of them, at least 20. Jalanash, use your flames to force the Anubis constructs out. Dongye Tianqi, you're in charge of intercepting them. If the Anubis constructs manage to escape from the building, you'll be in charge of killing them, West said. My pleasure. Dongye Tianqi was ready for battle. Fire shot out from Jalanash's palms and poured into the building through the window. In an instant, the whole building exploded violently. Dozens of black figures leaped out. Phantom slash. Dongye Tianqi's figure flashed past like a ghost. Dozens of Anubis constructs were cut apart in an instant. After the dozen or so Anubis constructs were transformed into demon pearls, they fused together in pairs. Dongye Tianqi was prepared this time. The moment the fused Anubis constructs took shape, he attacked again and killed them instantly. However, when they returned to their demon pearls, they began to fuse again, forming a new form of Anubis construct. Of course, this was the second time they had fused and their strength had increased. Of course, their numbers had also increased to 4. But against Dongye Tianqi, they still had no way to fight back. The 4 Anubis constructs were instantly killed by Dongye Tianqi. The 4 demon orbs were killed once again. This time, they fused and regenerated. With the exception of Dongye Tianqi, everyone else was shocked. Harris, what's going on? Can these Anubis constructs keep fusing? Harris shook her head. I don't think our first trial is to hunt down the Anubis constructs, but to obtain high-grade demon pearls, Gaia said. Our results should be evaluated based on the grade of the demon pearls. Everyone looked at Gaia. According to this setting, most spiritualists will be able to easily deal with the Anubis construct's initial strength. This will not even reach the stage of a trial. The only deciding factor for victory is luck. Whoever is lucky enough to find more Anubis constructs will win, and then this trial will be meaningless. That is why I think the first trial's condition is to fuse with more demon pearls. These Anubis constructs can constantly fuse and regenerate, and every time they fuse, their strength will multiply. This means that we need to constantly hunt down the Anubis constructs and let their demon pearls fuse continuously until they multiply, until we are no longer able to resist them. That will be the key to determining the first trial's success or failure. Gaia's eyes widened. Everyone understood. Every time the demon pearls fused, the Anubis construct's strength would double. Whoever could obtain a higher grade demon pearl would win. After Dongye Tianqi killed 2 of the Anubis constructs, the demon pearls fused again, leaving only 1 Anubis construct. This proved that Gaia's guess was correct. However, the result did not change. Dongye Tianqi had once again killed the Anubis construct, which had undergone its 4th fusion. Did you notice? The demon pearls of the first Anubis construct are white. After the first fusion, the demon pearls are yellow, the 3rd is black, and the 4th is blue. The color of the demon pearls represents their strength. Chapter 2166. After the 4th fusion into a blue pearl, the Anubis construct was 16 times more powerful. Dongye Tianqi could still kill it in 1 move. After the 5th fusion into a purple pearl with 32 times more power, Dongye Tianqi could no longer kill it in 1 move. After the 6th fusion into a green pearl with 64 times more power, Dongye Tianqi was already having a hard time. West, what do you think the lowest color pearl is needed to pass the trial? Gaia asked. If it's you, what's the highest you can handle? West asked. Around the 8th fusion, Gaia said. 256 times. I'm not completely sure. If each team only needs one pearl, I think it'll take the 10th fusion, which is around 1024 times more powerful, West said. Is it really that high? If everyone has one pearl, I think 10 pearls from the 7th fusion should be enough. West was also unsure. After all, he didn't know the standard. He was only using half of Gaia's power. Gaia was the strongest in the association after Chun Zhao. It was reasonable to use half of her power as the standard. If it was the team's standard, then with her strength multiplied by 4 times, it should be possible to use it as the team's standard. The group discovered another group of Anubis constructs. They immediately chased after them. Just as they were blocking the Anubis constructs in an alley, a team appeared in front of them. The team had come from the other side of the alley. They stood on top of the wall and looked at the association members. Sorry, we found them first. The leader of the group was a young woman. West took 2 steps forward with a faint smile. Looks like we have the same opinion. Thank you. Please leave. We have to clear the area. We also think that we found them first, West said, smiling. Don't ask for trouble, the woman said with a snort. West didn't say anything. The people behind him had already expressed their attitude with their expressions and eyes. The other group had the same expression. Excited. Both sides seemed to be eager to fight. It seemed that they had been suppressed for a long time. Both sides were like this. They both wanted to find someone to fight. Suddenly, a woman dressed in white and wearing a veil appeared in front of West with 2 small katanas in her hands. She was about to slash at West. But at that moment, the woman in white's katana was frozen in place. Then, a demonic blade filled with demonic energy appeared in front of West, helping him deflect the odachi. Dongya Tianqi looked at the masked woman in white. You're from the Chiba family? Sword genius. How dare you use the demon blade? What an arrogant fool. Do you think that you have already taken control of the demon blade? One day, you will be devoured by the demon blade. The masked woman in white glared at Dongya Tianqi coldly. At the same time, there was a trace of wariness in her eyes. Dongya Tianqi grinned. I'm not controlling the demon blade. It has never truly submitted to me. The woman in white was puzzled. Dongya Tianqi did not seem to be affected by the demonic blade. His consciousness was still very clear, but from the demonic aura emanating from his body, it did not seem like he was unaffected. Could it be that the demon blade had no consciousness? The masked woman's eyes flashed, and she attacked Dongya Tianqi. Dongya Tianqi suddenly burst forward, his sword like a torrent. In an instant, the 2 odachi in the masked woman's hands shattered at the same time. Dongya Tianqi had no intention of showing mercy to the fairer sex. He raised the demon blade and slashed at her again. The white-clothed woman felt someone pulling her back. The demonic saber energy landed in front of the white-clothed woman, creating a 10-meter-long crack on the ground. The masked woman turned to look at her companion behind her. Thank you, Tylos. Watch out. Tylos cried out. At that moment, Dongya Tianqi rushed forward again. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Dongya Tianqi. Dongya Tianqi glanced at the figure. Since it was not one of his own, there was no need to waste time. He would just kill it. Dongya Tianqi's blade landed on the figure's body, but the blade did not cut in. The blade only cut open the figure's shirt, leaving a white mark on his skin. The man took 2 steps back and touched his chest. That was close. I almost got cut. The man sighed. Although Dongya Tianqi's attack did not seem to have any effect, it was not easy for the man to block it. The other members of the association stood at the back with their arms crossed, as if they were watching a show. 3 people had already made their moves, but they could not do anything to Dongya Tianqi. How strong are they? Gaia asked. Below average, West said. If the other side's strength is at that level, 1 or 2 of them are probably no weaker than Dongya Tianqi. Gaia's gaze fell on the leader of the group. That woman is very strong. At that moment, Dongya Tianqi had forced the 3 opponents into a corner. Dongya Tianqi was about to reach the masked woman in white. Finally, The leader of the group made her move. Suddenly, 2 black flames burst out from her palms, which she threw at Dong Tianxi. Dong Tianxi's attention was focused on the 3 opponents before him. He did not even notice the sneak attack from the woman. However, he did not need to pay attention, because he also had teammates. Before the 2 black flames could reach Dong Tianxi, a red light intercepted them. Jalanash took a step forward, her palms ablaze with red flames. Do you only know how to sneak attack? The people on the other side all had expressions of righteous indignation. However, they had to admit that Dong Tianxi alone was enough to suppress all 3 of them, forcing them into a dangerous situation. Dong Tianxi was indeed ridiculously strong. No, to be more precise, the devil's blade in his hand. Fortunately, neither side had any intention of actually killing the other. Otherwise, a few people would have died in this battle. In fact, Dong Tianxi had held back a lot after making his move. Otherwise, the opponents would not have come out unscathed. At the very least, no one had died. The leader of the group had a gloomy expression. She could also sense that this unfamiliar team was not weak. As a veteran who had participated in 2 battles of holy glory, although they had not achieved good results each time, she recognized the older teams. She had a rough idea of which teams were strong and which were weak. However, the team in front of her was clearly not weak, but it was as if they had crawled out of the ground. She had never heard of them before. Logically speaking, such a strong team shouldn't be weak. Moreover, it should not be the kind of team that suddenly rose to prominence. Without sufficient foundation, how could they cultivate such strength? Chapter 2167. The strength that Dong Tianxi had displayed didn't need to be mentioned. If they were to really go all out, Dong Tianxi alone would be able to hold off half of them. Of course, it was also possible that Dong Tianxi was the strongest of the group. This was very possible. As for Jalanash, she also put a lot of pressure on them. The woman on the other side evaluated Jalanash's strength. Elemental magic. This was obvious. But from the strength that she had displayed just now, she was no weaker than herself. As for the others, they might not be as strong as the 2 who had attacked, but they might not be much weaker. So if they continued to fight, they probably wouldn't gain anything. But as time passed, more and more teams came in, and the number of Anubis constructs they could find decreased. So they weren't very willing to give up on this large wave of Anubis constructs. Should he give it a try? Perhaps the Japanese warrior with the demon blade and the elemental girl were the only ones in this group. They don't look like they want to leave. Are they that blind? Wes was a little unhappy. They're probably newbies too. The people from the Union thought that the other team was a newbie like them. Little did they know that the girl in front of them, who looked like she was in her early 20s, was actually a veteran who had participated in 2 holy battles. We still don't know how much time we have left, West said. Let's finish this quickly. Just then Mord made his move. Countless vines suddenly drilled out from the ground. 3 of the 10 people on the other side were entangled by the vines. As soon as the vines wrapped around the 3, they immediately screamed. The vines were as hot as soldering iron. These were lava vines. As their name suggested, they were extremely hot. Gaia also made her move. The moment the sword on her back was pulled out, it ignited with high-temperature flames. Her target was the largest spiritualist on the other side. The spiritualist had just made his move when Gaia sniped him. Seeing Gaia's flaming sword coming at him, the spiritualist roared and his body expanded several times, turning into a 4-meter-tall giant. But facing Gaia's flaming sword, the giant was instantly smashed to the ground. With a cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The pupils of the leading woman on the other side shrank. So powerful. Every spiritualist from the opposing team was excessively strong. Just as she was in shock, her team's enhanced-type spiritualist brushed past her. However, he did not fly over. Instead, he was smashed by Gaia. Stop. Everyone stop. The female leader of the opposing team could no longer accept the continuous losses. If they continued to fight, their team would most likely be eliminated at the start of the competition. Although the last 2 times she had participated, their team's results were not considered good. But he had never been eliminated in the beginning. If she was eliminated because of this conflict, she would lose all her face. There was a clear gap in strength between the two sides. She didn't think there was any reason to continue. Continuing to fight would only increase the number of casualties. Moreover, she felt that although the opposing team looked unfamiliar, they were not the same. However, it was definitely not the kind of newbie team that had just arrived. The team in front of him was most likely the second team of some powerful organization. The people from the association did not intend to kill them all. Otherwise, this group of people would either be dead or crippled. Of course, this was not because everyone in the association was kind. It was just that they didn't want to be too obvious. Killing people at the start of the competition was too arrogant. Moreover, they did not know if there was a rule against killing people. Thus, as newbies, it was better to keep a low profile. "We don't want these Anubis constructs anymore," the leading woman said. However, West shook his head. "Leave behind the demon pearls you've collected. Otherwise, none of you will leave." The opposing team was all furious. Although the leading woman was also furious, the situation was not in her favor. In the end, she accepted West's request. She threw a 5 fusion demon pearl and a 4 fusion demon pearl to West and hurriedly left with her team. "Looks like they had a good harvest. They actually have more prey than us." "They probably arrived earlier than us," Gaia said. "I estimate that there should be plenty of time. Some teams probably haven't arrived yet. If the trial is too short, it will be very disadvantageous for later teams. There are benefits to having a long time, but there are also disadvantages," Gaia said. Gaia said, "These Anubis constructs are no threat to us. But just like before, there will be friction between the teams. Furthermore, we will need supplies. I believe that the organizers will throw in some supplies. When that happens, another battle will be inevitable." Another beautiful night. Chen Zhao lay on the deck chair on the balcony, enjoying the bright moonlight. "Do you like the moonlight?" A sudden voice rang in Chen Zhao's ears. "Wow!" Chen Zhao jumped up. "Bifla, are you crazy?" "No. Do you know that it's very impolite to barge into someone else's room?" "I know. Then why did you do it? Why should I consider a mortal's feelings? Do you think I won't kill you?" Chen Zhao gritted his teeth at Bifla. "I wanted to give you some clues, but since you don't want them, forget it." Bifla turned to leave. Chen Zhao hurriedly pulled Bifla back. "Wait, I was just joking. I forgive you," Bifla said matter-of-factly. "The sinful blood of the night fills the forgotten cave." "What do you mean?" "Figure it out yourself." "Speak clearly." "What do you mean figure it out myself?" "Figure it out my ass." Chen Zhao cursed. "What was that?" "The sinful blood of the night fills the forgotten cave." He couldn't understand at all. "It means exactly what it says. Has the intelligence of a mortal devolved to that of a gorilla?" Right now, Chen Zhao really wanted to punch Bifla's cold face. It would definitely be fun. The sinful blood of the night? The criminals that appear at night? Filling the forgotten cave. Chen Zhao rubbed his chin deep in thought. The forgotten cave should be an abandoned place in the spiritual world, or some organization, right? Which idiot came up with this code? Such a stupid code. Why do I feel like I'm being fooled when I solve the puzzle? Celestial Master Zhang, Bifla said. It really is an idiot's question. A lot of people have gotten this clue. You'd better act quickly. Chapter 2168. Are there criminals in Istanbul? Or are there enough criminals? Chen Zhao wasn't too interested in killing people with a purpose. Chen Zhao had killed people too, and many at that. It felt like someone gave you a mission to kill people. They would only give you a pass after you killed a certain number of people. Chen Zhao didn't like this feeling. At least, he didn't think that the reward was proportional to the effort. Every time there's an event like this, the organizer will attract some criminals or criminal groups to the host city and treat them as the spiritualists' prey. It's not just the Battle of Holy Glory or Istanbul. In fact, these criminals and criminal groups are the appetizers for many events in the spiritual world. Treating humans as prey. What a bad taste. Have you done something like this before? Bifla looked at Chen Zhao meaningfully. Now that you mention it, I really want to do it too. Chen Zhao suddenly realized that he was in no position to say this. Because he himself often treated others as prey. The process might be different, but the method was the same. To you and me, ordinary people are no different from ants. The only thing that binds us is the morals we grew up with. Right now we're facing criminals with no morals at all. The only thing that binds us also disappears. In our worldview, the idea that criminals all deserve to die gives us an inexplicable pleasure when we hunt them. This is the so-called hero complex. Chen Zhao really wanted to retort, but he realized that he couldn't. Also, don't you think that we're doing justice now? Okay, you've convinced me. People like Chen Zhao and Bifla didn't need to overcome any psychological burden. They didn't have any psychological burden about killing people. They were telling themselves that they were right, and those people deserved to die. Chen Zhao and Bifla circled the streets and locked onto a criminal group. From some obvious features, they could tell that they weren't locals. Why are they here? Chen Zhao asked curiously. Maybe it's some business, or it's fake news. Anyway, it's easy for the organizer to attract these criminals here. Chen Zhao and Bifla tailed the group of criminals to their place of residence. It was an abandoned street. It was very remote and suitable for them to act. However, it was still early, so the two of them waited patiently. There are at least 100 criminals here. Shall we split them evenly? Let's do it based on our own abilities. Whoever hunts the most is the one with the most ability. There's no point in splitting it evenly, Bifla said disapprovingly. Are you sure you can beat me? Chen Zhao asked. It wasn't that Chen Zhao looked down on Bifla. He just felt that he was stronger than Bifla. Bifla smiled. Why do you think I can't compete with you? Alright, let's see who's capable. Chen Zhao shrugged. At the same time, he was determined to teach Bifla a good lesson. Bifla glanced at Chen Zhao. He could feel Chen Zhao's competitiveness. However, how could he remain calm? He secretly made up his mind to fight Chen Zhao to see who was stronger. At this moment, 3 figures descended from the sky. They were 3 spiritualists, an old man, a middle-aged woman and a young man. The 3 spiritualists landed on the roof opposite Chen Zhao and Bifla. We targeted the criminals here first. Please leave. The old man had a benevolent smile. The middle-aged woman and the young man were both arrogant. They looked like they deserved a beating. When they looked at Chen Zhao, their eyes were filled with anticipation. Chen Zhao grinned. Once again, Bifla was ignored. The founder of the Roy Prophet religion. Bifla looked at the old man. He has a very special magic called Battle Prophet. No matter what kind of enemy he faces, he can predict what they are going to do and how they are going to attack. Chen Zhao had to admit that Bifla's presence was really too low. The 3 didn't notice Bifla at all. Even if Bifla told them where they came from in front of them, the 3 seemed to be blind. They didn't notice Bifla at all. Battle Prophet? I wonder if they can predict that I'll beat them into pig heads. Chen Zhao clenched his fists and looked at the 3 maliciously. However, Chen Zhao was still curious about the Battle Prophet's fighting style. Could it be that he could see the future? If they could see the future, why would they continue to stay here? Would Chen Zhao lose to them in the future? Chen Zhao looked at the 3 people in front of him with interest. He took a step forward. The old man's expression turned serious. He looked at Chen Zhao warily. This was because the magic he used was dozens of times more than usual. Chen Zhao suddenly moved and punched at the old man. But the punch missed. The moment Chen Zhao attacked, the old man took a few steps back. He wasn't fast, but he was 1 step faster than Chen Zhao. The moment Chen Zhao missed, the old man's palm was already pressed against Chen Zhao's forehead. Boom! Chen Zhao was sent flying. He hadn't been in such a sorry state in a long time. He landed heavily on the ground. His clothes were burnt too. At this moment, the criminal group hiding there heard the explosion and all rushed out. They saw Chen Zhao standing on the ground, his body smoking. They also saw the 3 people on the roof. Bifla was ignored again. All the guns were pointed at Chen Zhao and the 3 on the roof. But no one paid attention to the criminals. Who are you? Hands up. Chen Zhao clearly didn't plan on cooperating with the criminals. He stared at the old man on the roof. The middle-aged woman and the young man were both excited and proud. It was like they'd defeated Chen Zhao. The old man frowned because he hadn't held back just now. But Chen Zhao didn't seem to be hurt at all. The leader of the criminal group was suspicious. He and his subordinates clearly didn't know what was going on. Are these people the police? They didn't look like Interpol. Or were they in the same line? Boss, what should we do? Should we kill them all? I don't know. Wait. The leader yelled. Did you hear that? Hands up. Or else I won't go easy on you. However, his threat was ignored by everyone present. The leader was a bit angry. He grabbed his subordinate's gun, pointed it at Chen Zhao and fired. Bang! Ding! Chen Zhao's head tilted slightly, and a deformed bullet landed on the ground. Chen Zhao slowly turned his head to look at the leader. Do you want to die faster? Chen Zhao asked emotionlessly. Chapter 2169. The criminals were like cats with their hair standing on end. Their bodies were tense and arched. They all saw it. The guy had been shot in the head, but he didn't die. No, he was fine. Chen Zhao looked at the old man on the roof. The old man instantly tensed up. In front of him, there were countless threads surging towards him like a huge river. It was 10 times more turbulent than the first time Chen Zhao had attacked. He was the only one who could see those threads. Most of them were red, and they were made up of messy threads. Only a small portion of the threads were green. There was also a small portion that was made up of black silk. The red thread represented danger, while the green thread represented safety. Black meant death. If one touched a black thread, their life would be in danger. The old man had never faced an enemy like this before. He used his magic with all his might to grab the green threads. However, the red threads continued to attack the old man in a frenzy. The old man spat out a mouthful of blood. Suddenly, all the red and black threads turned green. Chen Zhao also stopped. That's weird. Did the old man go berserk? I didn't even touch him. How did he get hurt? The old man was depressed. He didn't expect the danger to be resolved by spitting blood. He's using a huge amount of magic. Bifla egged him on. That's why he spat blood. You better stop looking down on him. Really? Then I'll be more serious too. The old man's scalp was about to explode because countless threads had appeared before him again. If the silk thread looked like a big river last time, then the silk thread this time looked like a torrent. Most of them were red. About 1/5 were black. In this torrent, there were only a few extremely rare strands of green silk. The old man really regretted it this time. He'd thought that he should be at the top. He felt that even if he faced Celestial Master Zhang, the so-called top person in the world, he could still put up a fight. In the past, he'd faced countless strong people. Many of them were shockingly powerful. But even the shockingly powerful ones, when he used the prophet spell, most of the people he faced were green threads. So he could always easily resolve his opponent's attacks. But this man was like a demon king. He couldn't see any hope of winning. In this torrent, black and red mixed together, painting a terrifying scene. At the same time, it made it even harder for him to resist. The green thread also became unstable, as if it would snap at any time. The old man wanted to grab the green thread, but in the blink of an eye, it was washed away by the red and black torrents. He had missed a golden opportunity, but the old man had fallen into an illusion given by the future. The next moment, the old man felt pain on his cheek. Chen Zhao's fist landed on his face. The middle-aged woman and the young man, who had been smug just a moment ago, all revealed looks of disbelief. They even forgot to help the old man up. Chen Zhao looked at his fist. So weak, so disappointing. The old man covered his face, and his magic almost collapsed. Although his prophetic magic was very powerful, it could even be said to be a bug-level magic. But at the same time, there were huge risks. If he was facing an opponent so strong that he couldn't surpass him, in that case, he would also be affected by the magic of the prophet. Coupled with Chen Zhao's punch, he was seriously injured. Help me up. Let's go. The old man covered his face. At the moment, he didn't even have the strength to stand up. The middle-aged woman and the young man hurriedly helped the old man up and left the scene in a hurry. When the criminals saw the three on the roof, they disappeared with a whoosh. Chen Zhao immediately felt that something was wrong. These people didn't seem to be normal people. Chen Zhao turned to Bifla. Bifla, it's about time, right? Yes, let's start now. Suddenly, countless pools of dark magma appeared under Chen Zhao's feet. The dark magma instantly spread in all directions. In the blink of an eye, the entire street was covered in dark magma. You lost. A victorious smile appeared on Chen Zhao's face. But just then, the criminals fell down one after another. No, you lost. Baifla's lips curled up. Chen Zhao's pupils constricted. He had no idea how Baifla did it. There were no energy waves. The criminals didn't seem to have been attacked either. Like dominoes, they fell one after another. Chen Zhao also moved. The dark magma on the ground turned into a mountain of knives. In an instant, dozens of criminals were minced at the same time. The fight came to an end. The two top spiritualists in the spiritual world didn't even give the criminals a chance to fight back. It started instantly and ended instantly. You didn't win, Chen Zhao said indifferently. It's obvious that I have more prey. No, your so-called prey has already been killed by me, Baifla said, shaking his head. You can't prove that you've killed them. Chen Zhao shrugged. Plus, how can you say that? No one was willing to admit defeat in this fight. After all, there wasn't a clear winner. Of course, they all thought that they'd won. Baifla stretched out his hand. Black blood rose from the corpses he'd killed and gathered in his palm. Chen Zhao's dark magma started collecting blood too. He realized that the criminals' blood was black. Why is their blood black? It's a mark. The mark that the organizers put on the prey, Baifla said. Oh, what spell was that? I didn't feel you attack at all. How did you kill them? If you admit defeat, I'll tell you. As a mortal, you should feel honored that I gave you this chance. Chen Zhao's face twitched. Fuck off. Chen Zhao didn't want to admit defeat, but he still recalled every detail of the scene. How did Baifla kill so many criminals? It was too strange. They clearly didn't do anything, but the criminals fell like wheat. It was as if they'd been killed by Baifla's gaze. Do you really want to know? Baifla asked. Yes. Then I won't tell you. You're really annoying. Do you know that? People who hate me are jealous of my status, power, and charisma. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. Let's go and find the forgotten cave. There's no need. I know where it is. Where? Chen Zhao regretted asking the question. With Baifla's personality, he would definitely argue with him. Chapter 2170. Baifla stared at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao felt creeped out by Baifla's stare. It was very uncomfortable. Problem? Whatever, no problem. Just say it. What's with that look? Nothing. Let's go, Baifla said coolly. I'll take you to the cave. Chen Zhao followed behind Baifla, mumbling to himself. Why am I with this guy? Baifla was definitely not a suitable partner. He was eccentric and did strange things. He always had an unapproachable aura. Chen Zhao already felt uncomfortable standing next to him, let alone interacting with him. You're talking bad about me now. Baifla suddenly stopped and turned to look at Chen Zhao. No, you're wrong. Don't deny the truth. I can feel it. If you weren't so annoying, I wouldn't say bad things about you. It's really hard to communicate with you mortals. Did you old Zhang and old John say the same? No, they're all God's messengers and stronger than me. My strength should be above yours, right? You should at least show me some respect, right? Mortals will turn to dust after 100 years. No matter how strong you are, you can't withstand the destruction of time. You're still a mortal. What about you? How long can you live? I've already changed 4 bodies. More accurately, I've stolen them, Baifla said. If there's no accident, I have eternal time. What if there's an accident? If there's an accident, they'll be like the previous generation, my teacher. My consciousness will wear them down, and they'll become a part of my power. So, your teacher wanted to take over your body, but you devoured him, and you became the leader of the sect of fire? That's what I mean. Am I that familiar with you? How can you tell me something like that? It's not a secret. At least 5 people know about it. Chen Zhao shuddered and looked at Baifla warily. You're not thinking of taking over my body, are you? We are not the same kind of people. Your physical body is useless to me. More importantly, your consciousness is too strong for me to occupy. I won't be happy to hear that. Unknowingly, the two of them had already arrived at a stretch of ruins standing on the shore. In the middle of the ruins was a church. According to your 4 lives, you should be more than 200 years old now, right? Actually, 420 years old. Bifla said. It's not easy to nurture a body that can accommodate me. I always feel that it's very evil. This is indeed a forbidden technique. But do you think this kind of forbidden technique can be used at will? Isn't it? First of all, the original owner of the physical body that I've taken over knows the truth. They're all my students, just like me and my teacher in the past. After this forbidden technique is activated, his and my consciousness will enter an arena in the sea of consciousness. In this arena, he and I will be on equal footing. It's a fair and just battle. According to what you said, you can obtain everything that a loser has. In other words, every time you reincarnate, your power and knowledge will almost double. How can you always nurture new losers? If I were to fight with the original owner of this body, and the original owner's magic power and consciousness were much weaker than mine, then I would have to give up the excess power. This is the arena set by God. No one can cheat. Everyone is on the same starting line. At the very least, the power level and consciousness power are the same. In other words, you've won 4 times in a life and death battle between people of the same level. 5. You forgot to count the time when I fought with my teacher's consciousness. It's quite risky in your line of work. Isn't it better to live the rest of your life peacefully? I've considered this problem, but sometimes when you're in that position, you can't live the rest of your life peacefully. That makes sense. In China, there's a saying that goes, when you're in the pugilistic world, you can't help yourself. Haven't you considered changing the inheritance method? For example, bloodline inheritance, ability inheritance, or an election system or something. Tradition is tradition. It can't be changed. Not long after, the two of them stood in front of the church, which only had broken walls left. These ruins should have been the site of an extremely tragic fire. Before they stepped into the church, a group of evil spirits came out. At the same time, evil spirits kept coming out of the surrounding ruins. Many of them had turned into fire demons. They were evil spirits that were killed by fire. They were fiercer and more dangerous than normal evil spirits. The living, get out of here, or you'll face the endless fire of disaster. Looks like they don't really welcome us. They just don't welcome you, Bifla said calmly. You're on their banishment list too. They can't even feel my existence. How can they banish me? They can't feel your existence? Why? A person can see the length of a pond, but not the width of an ocean. In their perception, I'm that ocean. You're the most shameless person I've ever seen. While Chen Zhao and Bifla were still attacking each other, the evil spirits were already rubbing their palms. These evil spirits were fatal to normal people. Even regular spiritualists would run if they encountered them. Basically, they'd run if they ran into them. However, they were facing Chen Zhao and Bifla now. These two were not ordinary people, nor were they ordinary spiritualists. They weren't good people either. Of course, these evil spirits couldn't tell who Chen Zhao was. A ball of fire smashed into Chen Zhao's back. Chen Zhao turned his head. It was a fire demon bearing its fangs and claws. In the next instant, the dark lava pounced over and engulfed the scorching fire fiend. The demon of scorching fire was still struggling in the dark magma, but it would only take a few seconds for it to finish. Very quickly, it disappeared without a trace, as if nothing had happened. You better run fast because I'll kill all of you. Chen Zhao smiled cruelly. Although Chen Zhao had already shown his hand, they weren't really afraid. It seemed that this wasn't their first time facing a spiritualist. They had a lot of experience fighting against spiritualists. There were also some weaker evil spirits that had already gone into hiding. Those that remained were basically all-powerful and ferocious scorching fire fiends. Mobile version of the fastest.d website. Chapter 2171. There was no suspense in the result. The fire demons really had no chance of winning against Chen Zhao. The difference between them was too huge. With a few punches and kicks, Chen Zhao killed all the fire demons. Not a single one was left. Chen Zhao didn't bother with the ones that had run away earlier. Chen Zhao and Bifla entered the abandoned church. There was a stone pot under the cross. This stone pot was originally used to hold holy water. Some newborns who joined the church used the holy water in the stone pot to be baptized. Bifla put the blood of evil heat collected into the stone pot. The stone pot immediately boiled. At the same time, wisps of black gas rose. Bound by magic, the black gas formed a ring-shaped tunnel. This is the tunnel. Actually, the blood of evil in your hands is enough, right? Is the one in my hand useless? This tunnel is temporary. It can only last for 10 minutes. If you want to go in again, you'll have to open it again. Do we have to kill those criminals every time we go in? Chen Zhao wasn't against it. He just found it troublesome, very troublesome. Indeed. Bifla agreed with Chen Zhao's opinion. Can we go in now? Yes, but you have to follow the rules. You can't affect the progress of the event. I'm someone who values rules the most. At the moment, in the desolate market, the competition among the teams intensified. Most of the teams were already gathered here. Everyone was starting to familiarize themselves with the rules here. There were also the hidden rules of the organizer. However, the number of Anubis constructs here was not infinite. Therefore, competition was unavoidable. In a skyscraper, the people who'd been chased away by the association were now hiding in the skyscraper. The skyscraper was tall, but there were no Anubis structures. Therefore, no other teams would come here. Everything here was a mirror image of reality. Therefore, it was possible to destroy anything here without affecting the real world. However, the mirror image couldn't mirror creatures and energy. So, although the skyscraper was the same as reality, it didn't have power. Therefore, the electrical equipment in the building couldn't be used. No one wanted to climb dozens of floors. It was pointless. Fraser Abitak's expression was serious. Almost half of her subordinates were injured. 3 of them had completely lost the ability to fight. Although that group of people did not have any killing intent, they did not have the slightest scruples when they attacked. The damage it brought to their team was also very great. The other 2 were injured, and their strength had dropped by at least 30%. If they couldn't think of something, then their team would most likely be eliminated. Fraser Umbitak had his own organization. She had inherited the organization from her father. Although this organization was not very famous, it had a certain history. They couldn't compare to those top organizations or sections. However, he still had some fame. Although they didn't have many people, they had a certain foundation. Therefore, every generation would always be able to nurture a few spiritualists with extraordinary strength. For example, Fraser Embritak had participated in the first battle of the Holy Glory since she was 3 years old. The second time was when he was 13. This was her 3rd time participating in the Battle of the Holy Glorious Ones, at the age of 23. It's not like there aren't other participants who are more experienced than her. But most of them were old people. As a participant for 3 consecutive years, Fraser Umbitak had seen many powerful people. But she did not expect to encounter such trouble in the 3rd year. This was the first time she personally led a team. If she did not even pass the entry trial this time, she would lose a lot of face. Her brothers and sisters would also wait for the opportunity to move and shake her position as first in line. Fraser Embritak definitely did not want that to happen. We can't rashly clash with other teams now, Fraser Embritak said solemnly. Mista, stay here and take care of the 3 injured people. The rest of you, spread out and lure the Anubis structure to this building. Then, use the terrain here to destroy it. Fraser said solemnly. Missy, will it be too dangerous for everyone to go out alone? Right now, we don't have the advantage in numbers. Additionally, our spoils of war have been snatched away by the other team. If we continue to stick to our original plan, it will be difficult for us to find enough prey. Right now, we can only take the risk and split up to search for more Anubis constructs. Although Fraser Embritak was anxious, she did not completely lose her sense of propriety. Furthermore, the organizers have stipulated that they are not allowed to kill other contestants. So even if they encounter other spiritualists, their lives will not be in danger. Furthermore, the other teams will not casually attack people who move alone. If we can find the Anubis constructs, those ordinary Anubis constructs will not be strong. As long as they do not get surrounded, they will not be able to harm our people. What if the Anubis construct that we've attracted is discovered by the other guilds? Then we give up. No matter what, we have to ensure that our people do not get injured again. Don't clash with other teams. At least not before this trial ends. Fraser Embritak paused and then continued. Also, we need to set a time to ensure that no one returns. If someone doesn't, it will increase the risk. Fraser Imbritak looked at the time. Let's match the time. It's 8:50 at night. We have to return here before dawn. Everyone knew that if they did not go all out now, they would really have to leave Istanbul with their tails between their legs. So, even though they knew that Fraser Imbritak's plan had a certain degree of risk, they still accepted the plan. Fraser Imbritak also chose a direction and left alone. In the empty city, there would occasionally be some shadows. Fraser Imbritak was very careful with her every move. After all, she was acting alone. Any accident would increase the risk for her and her team, so she had to be very careful. Just then, she noticed a battle in front of her. And from the fluctuations of the battle, it was very intense. Fraser Imbritak was about to turn and leave. The building next to them suddenly collapsed, and a giant Anubis construct knocked an enhancing-type spiritualist out of the building. The enhancer pounced directly in front of Fraser Imbritak. Fraser Imbritak gasped as she looked at the giant Anubis structure in front of her. So big. Chapter 2172. The Anubis construct in front of her was bigger than all the Anubis constructs she had ever seen. It was even bigger than all the Anubis constructs she had ever built combined. Clearly, this was an Anubis construct that had been born after many fusion of demon orbs. The number of fusion times was enough to make one despair. The chilling aura it exuded, as well as its distorted body, were proof of how terrifying the construct of Anubis was. The Anubis construct could not be fused infinitely. It was obvious that there was a limit to this fusion. In theory, as long as there were enough Anubis constructs, it could be fused infinitely. But in reality, with every fusion, the Anubis construct's body would be distorted to a certain extent. This was caused by the instability of the genetic chain. Why was it so difficult for natural creatures to evolve? It was because of the stability of the genetic chain. Only in extreme environments could there be a break in the genetic chain. And this mutation required a very long time. It was not a mutation process that was completed in a certain generation. After all, evolution and mutation were two different concepts. The Anubis construct was not a natural creature. Its genetic chain was very weak because of this. To put it bluntly, it was like a pile of building blocks. It could be piled high in a short period of time. In reality, this kind of building block was very weak and would collapse at the slightest touch. The Anubis construct pressed down on the spiritualist with one claw and turned its head towards Fraser Imbritak. Fraser Imbritak hurriedly retreated. Danger! Fraser Imbritak's nerves tightened. There had been deaths in every battle of Holy Glory, and the organizers of every battle of Holy Glory had stated that there was a certain level of danger. Although the organizers also ensured the safety of every participant. But such things could not be avoided. Fraser Imbritak did not want to be one of the few who died. Fraser Imbritak looked at the spiritualist who was pressed to the ground. It looked like he was dead, and she did not think she had the ability to save this spiritualist who was on the verge of death. From the corner of his eyes, he glanced at the ruins created by the gigantic Anubis construct, and noticed a few more spiritualists. But they were all lying on the ground. Fraser Imbritak saw some broken limbs. Damn it! Don't fuse a monster like this if you don't have the ability. Fraser Imbritak cursed silently. This giant Anubis construct had probably fused 10 times, or even more. Forget the fact that she was alone. Even if her entire guild was here, or even if their guild was in perfect condition, they would still not be able to fight against an Anubis construct of this level. There was no way 10 level 10 players could defeat a level 100 player. This was the difference in levels. It wasn't something that could be made up with numbers. The gigantic Anubis construct clawed down with its front limbs, and the enhanced type spiritualist on the ground howled in pain. This was also the last sound he made before he completely lost his life. The gigantic Anubis construct opened its mouth and shot out a black bolt of lightning. Fraser's head was about to explode. He rolled on the ground and narrowly avoided the black lightning. The black lightning shot straight down the road. It flew for thousands of meters and hit a building, piercing through it. Fraser's face was filled with shock. How could humans fight against such a monster? It was impossible. Humans could not defeat such a monster. Even if this guild was destroyed by the gigantic Anubis construct, they should know very well that they could not defeat this guy. Even if they were weakened by half, they could not win. No. Even a quarter of the gigantic Anubis construct's strength could not be defeated. How could they fuse something like this? Unless they all had brain damage. It was impossible no matter how he thought about it. Therefore, the biggest possibility was that this gigantic Anubis construct wasn't fused by this guild. Fraser thought of a possibility. Someone, or a certain guild, had fused this gigantic Anubis construct on purpose. The goal was to eliminate their competitors. Fraser's nerves tightened even more. She could only think of one guild that could do this. Crows. They dared to provoke the organizers, and always acted against the rules. Other than crows, no other guild would do something like this. Whether in the east or the west, crows symbolized disaster. The crows that Fraser Umbitak thought of were a bunch of unlucky stars. An organization that trampled on the rules for fun. Coincidentally, a crow was hovering above Fraser Umbitak's head. The crow did not hide its tracks. Fraser Umbitak had already seen the crow. She was even more certain of her guess. Caw caw, the crow let out an ear-piercing caw, as if mocking Fraser. It also seemed to be announcing its existence. Fraser was out of her wits. She did not know what she should do. The only thing she could think of was to run. Running seemed to be the most reliable method now. And she could not run towards the gathering point. If she lured the monster there, it was very likely that the guild would be wiped out. So Fraser Umbitak decided to run in another direction. The crow was still circling above Fraser Umbitak's head. Caw caw. Noises kept echoing in Fraser's ears. It was even more annoying than the giant Anubis construct chasing her. Fraser Umbitak ran for her life. She had used up almost all of her magic power to escape. She had no choice. The giant Anubis construct was too invincible. She could not win. It was impossible. Suddenly, Fraser saw two figures walking towards her with their hands in their pockets. Run! Quick run, there's a big guy coming over here. Fraser Umbitak screamed. What's she shouting? Chen Zhao turned his head and asked Bifla. She's telling us to run, Bifla said. There's a big guy chasing her. Chen Zhao flicked his finger. The crow circling above Fraser's head was shot down. Now you hear it, Chen Zhao said. What's that thing? Don't tell me it's the legendary Egyptian god of death, Anubis. It's created according to the mythical Anubis. It's called the Anubis construct. Looks pretty powerful. Chapter 2173. When Fraser saw the two, it was as if she didn't see the huge Anubis construct behind her. It was still walking toward her. Go! Fraser didn't stop at all when she reached the two. She just turned her head and shouted at them. Chen Zhao and Bifla didn't stop. Can I attack? No, Bifla said. You can only protect yourself if it attacks first. Fine. Chen Zhao shrugged. Fraser suddenly stopped and looked at Chen Zhao and Bifla behind her. By then, the huge Anubis construct had already reached her. Run! The huge Anubis construct swiped its claw at Chen Zhao. Can we do it now? Yes, Bifla said. Slap! Fraser's pupils constricted. The terrifying huge Anubis construct's body exploded. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere, dyeing the walls on the side of the road black. The Asian only waved his fist casually. The other man, who seemed to be from Central Asia, didn't move at all. The two of them continued to walk forward. Fraser Umbitak panted heavily. That insufferably arrogant giant Anubis construct was killed just like that. Who were those two people? Fraser hesitated for a moment. She looked at the colorful pearl on the ground. It was left by the huge Anubis construct. If she could obtain the 5-colored demon pearl, then she and her team would definitely be able to successfully pass the first trial assessment. However, the spoils of war belonged to those two. If they weren't willing to give it to her, she would be killed even if she reached out for it. She wasn't stupid enough to think that she could defeat those two men. However, the two of them did not seem to notice the 5-colored demon pearl, and continued to walk forward. Or rather, it wasn't that they didn't notice the pearl. They didn't care at all. However, when he thought about it, it made sense. In the eyes of these two, Monsters of this level couldn't even be considered as prey. If they needed it, they could easily pass the trial. Fraser wasn't that extravagant. Even if it had nothing to do with the trial, this 5-colored demon pearl was still very valuable. After all, any spoils of war obtained in the Battle of Holy Glory belonged to the individual. Even if she only brought back a 5-colored demonic pearl, it would be enough to give her father and many other members an explanation. Fraser hesitated for a moment before finally running towards the two of them. "Gentlemen," Fraser Umbitak called out. "She can see you," Chen Zhao said. "I'm not a ghost." "Of course I can see," Bifla said coldly. "But there were so many people earlier, but none of them saw you." Chen Zhao glanced at Fraser. "Or is she really strong, at least stronger than the others?" "No, she's a descendant of the Hui Society. The Hui Society has special magic, so it's not strange that she noticed me." "Sirs, do you not want your spoils of war?" "You mean that demonic pearl?" "It's of no use to us," Bifla said. "You sure know how to use my things as a favor." Chen Zhao pursed his lips. "Okay, I won't disturb your trial anymore," Bifla said coolly. "Let's go." Just then a group of people walked over. The leader was covered in a black cloak. His face was also covered by a black veil. There was even a crow standing on his shoulder. "No one has ever dared to kill my pet. You're the first." Fraser Umbitak's expression changed drastically. Crow. The leader was Crow. In the Battle of Holy Glory, there were good and evil. But no one was as arrogant as Crow and his subordinates. Crow had always been arrogant. Apparently, he'd participated in many battles of Holy Glory. The requirement for this year's Battle of Holy Glory was that the contestants were under 40. But Crow had still come. But apparently, he wasn't the first Crow. No one knew if he was or not, because no one knew what he looked like. "Hey, he's here for you." Chen Zhao pointed at Bifla and threw the blame at Bifla. "He killed Crow. You can find him. It has nothing to do with me. You don't have to push it. You're all going to die." Crow laughed cruelly. "Caw caw." The crow on his shoulder also cawed strangely. "So ear-piercing." Chen Zhao frowned. "That's a corpse spirit crow," Bifla said calmly. "They can make a sound that can disturb one's mind. For people with weak minds, it is very likely that they will become crazy after listening to this strange sound for an hour. Even people of your level will feel uncomfortable. Even I hate it." "Sirs, that guy is Crow. You better not be careless," Fraser Umbitak said seriously. "Didn't you say we can't kill people in the barren land?" Chen Zhao asked, turning his head. "That guy is Crow. He has ways to not kill you directly, but you'll die in pain." "I see." Rubbing his chin, Chen Zhao turned to Bifla and asked, "Does that mean I can kill him now?" "Not yet." Caw, suddenly, the corpse crow on Crow's shoulder pounced at Chen Zhao. "You can now," Bifla said. "Hey, he's the one who killed your pet. Why did you attack me first?" Chen Zhao flicked his finger again, turning the corpse crow into a bloody pulp. If Crow wasn't wearing a mask, his face would definitely be black. Chen Zhao's finger trembled. "Seriously, you should still choose him as your opponent. If it's him, you still have a small chance of escaping." "Ha!" Crow laughed coldly. "Are you doubting me?" The next moment, Bifla's voice came from behind Crow. Crow's laughter stopped abruptly. The other Crow tribe members also moved away. They stared in disbelief at Bifla, who had suddenly appeared behind Crow. Crow jumped a dozen meters away and stared at Bifla in shock. "How did you appear behind me?" "Teleportation." "No. There's no ripple. How did you do it?" "The difference in power is too great. There's no point in telling you this. Plus, you're about to die. I have no obligation to explain to a dead person, a lowly ant." The crow let out a cruel smile. "Do you really think that you can defeat me with just a quick movement spell?" You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.